What's the best Porsche model? Here we have the whole Porsche model lineup in one video, all about the fascination of the Porsche brand. We'll show you which car has which focus and which might be the most suitable one for you. And which one would I pick? We have the Porsche Macan, here as the GTS, the Porsche Cayenne, here as the Turbo GT, the Porsche Taycan, here as the GTS, the Porsche Panamera, here as the Turbo, the Porsche 911 as GT3 Touring, and the Porsche 718, both Boxster and Cayman, as GTS 4.0. Enjoy this episode and let's start with the most sold one worldwide, the Macan.
Porsche designers, how many crazy colors shall we offer? Project leader? Yes. Welcome, Thomas on Autogefühl here with the Porsche Macan GTS. Today, this top version that is replacing the turbo now with 440 horsepower in the facelifted version. And we're also going to find out, shall we go for the GTS or the S we tested last time? Also, of course, once again on the German motorway. Let's go! A strong look already for all new Macan facelifted versions with these new design elements right here, and then the GTS, huge air intakes and also a contrasting lower bumper to the color right here. This one is also equipped with the optional GTS pack. Yeah, a GTS package for the GTS model. Yeah, that's hashtag Porsche pricing policy. PPP, interesting. Then the main headlamps come always LED as standard and also with the dynamic light function. The length at 4.73 m or 186 inches, and yes, this Python green sports SUV could be directly sent to green hell on the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and for this sporty purpose it has 21-inch wheels. GTS automatically comes with these huge wheels, and then optional carbon ceramic brakes, and they always have the yellow brake calipers, which again looks kind of weird to the green color, doesn't it? Then the typical Macan styling, and we also have all dark accentuations here around the window and also at the side mirror here today. And this GTS design package comes also then here, you know, with the another contrast in the lower part. Adaptive air suspension comes also standard here for the GTS model, then with a stiffer trim. We'll see in the driving part how that turns out. In the rear, the light strip goes all the way through, and hey, that color is now camouflage with the background today, isn't it? And then here the GTS badge. The GTS, of course, always a theme about a lot of dark contrast. And it also comes standard in with this dark sports exhaust. Acceleration figure in comparison, by the way, if both are equipped with the sports chrono package. This one, you know, 4.3 seconds to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, and the S model 4.6 seconds. These 0.3 seconds and also the other, you know, setup changes, will they make a difference in driving? We will find out very soon. Always so unique how that hood opens and leaves the headlamps as they are with this cutout there. Yeah. The base Macan would come with a 2-liter 4-cylinder. Boo! Okay, just kidding. 265 horsepower. And this in here for the S and the GTS, the 2.9-liter V6, both get this bi-turbo engine. Then I with 380 or here with 440 horsepower, now 60 horsepower plus if you compare it to the predecessor. The nice Porsche car key, and this time keyless entry made it to the extra list. Wow, didn't expect that. And then the thing is, you do not put the key in there itself, but then you have this, you know, extra key thing you turn then here on the inside. Would you prefer that or not? Tell me in the comments. Inside of the doors here with beautiful carbon fiber inset, and there's also this GTS design package which adds these green contrast stitches all over the place. My favorite option, the microfiber steering wheel, then also once again with the green contrast stitches. This one has such a better input to the vehicle, it feels so much sportier than overall. On the steering wheel, hard buttons, here for the volume on the left side for example, and right side for the digital instruments, and also had here this drive mode selector, so practical to change it while driving. This, by the way, the sports response button, and then you have 20 seconds of, you know, a higher boost or something, but yeah, you can also just go to the Sport Plus mode or Sport mode. You can get the base Macan and also the Macan S with animal-free seats. They are also a little bit less accentuated in the shoulder area. These one are the adaptive sport seats with more adjustments, but then they also cage you in a little bit more. Depends on what you like better, but they are not available without animal parts. Here the microfiber inserts for the GTS standard, but then the outside parts are animal skin actually. Here the multiple adjustment. Seating position is really racy indeed, and especially when you have the microfiber inserts, both steering wheel and also on the seat, they really keep you tight. So this is what makes this feeling here sportier in the GTS actually. Then lower, upper, out, in for the steering wheel. Electric control takes some time, but it's actually quite cool to have, and always this view on the analog RPM meter. Yeah, and it's just really cool to have that one digital speed. Yeah, I think we would like to have that in more cars still, don't we? And then here on the right side you have still a digital instrument, so you can also go then, for example, to the GPS map. And one more look here, the classic Porsche cockpit still. I think this one is still a good compromise between newer technologies and touchscreen and still having some real buttons, a big RPM meter and so on. Or what's your take on that? To my taste, I think that's good, and we don't need more actually, do we? Yes, we need to have that in every Porsche, the analog clock. It still looks amazing. In the facelift you can see here less hard buttons. These are still good, the climate buttons, they are for real, but then you have more capacitive buttons right here where the vents are coming from, but they're actually quite logical, so it's, I think, okay. And this new shifting lever, but it's really crisp here also with the microfiber in the GTS. And the cool thing is really, when you move it, you hear that? There's also this kind of analog feedback I really like. An update for the infotainment system right here, so overall it's quite nice how it looks and so on. Here also responsive enough for the map, and the menu structure is also somewhat okay. Here everything stays on the left side and so on. And we have the Bose sound system here optional, and yeah, this gives really nice surround sound, love that. Oh, and did I mention these green contrast stitches? Beautiful detail also that we have the microfiber covering here for that armrest. Underneath you have some more space, and that's also where you store your phone. You can connect the Apple CarPlay with the cable or also wirelessly. If you're not too tall, it's actually quite comfortable here in the rear, but the thing is really when I stretch my legs and I'm also driving, I do hit this seat here at the back, and considering the length of the vehicle, that's not good usage of space. But the microfiber inserts are also really nice, and the seat position itself is really cool. And here also, an extra once again, the nice microfiber sealing. In the lower part you get now 2 USB-C chargers and a huge middle tunnel, definitely. We also have adaptive cup holders right here. That's also the way, by the way, we can fold down this ski hatch. Look at that. Genesis found this button here so cool that they now also took it in their GV70 SUV. Very interesting. And here the trunk. You can see here cabin trolley fits in a very easy way. 1 meter or 40 inches in width and about 95 centimeters or 37 inches in length right here. It definitely does the job. And you can also fold these seats here individually. Welcome to Thomas's Performance Driving Lounge with the Porsche Macan GTS in the facelifted version. And is it worth the extra price compared to the Macan S we recently tested? German motorway, Autobahn, Sport Plus mode. Whoa, that exhaust goes nuts already right now. And we'll do a flying start from 30 kilometers an hour. Let's go. That's 150 kilometers an hour. Woo, that went very well. But what about when we're already at speed here? When we're at 150? Can it still go further? Kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, still something coming. Air suspension here, standard for the GTS, tuned on a stiff note, and wow, what a great handling here. Quite loud now, of course, at higher speeds, but a lot of cars do that, but noise insulation is not at the best level here with the Macan, we really have to say that, but just at higher speeds, but how stable that car is and feels. So easily can be put to the racetrack at any time. Now hard on the brakes, but very good feeling for the brakes. Super great steering input, and here that optional microfiber steering is just lovely. It's the best about this vehicle here, this option, because the main thing why the GTS feels racier here in this case is that microfiber steering wheel, because you can hold on to that so much better. You have so much more grip for that. And also the seats here with the microfiber surface, now called Race Tex at Porsche. Remember, Sport Tex is the fabric now. Race Tex is the microfiber, which used to be the Alcantara, but when they changed suppliers, Alcantara is a brand name. It's not the material itself. That would be microfiber, and the brands are like Alcantara, Dynamica, and Mercedes, for example, and then some other or no-name suppliers or whatever, or don't know, I just want to use their own brand name. So the microfiber here, Race Tex, and the fabric is Sport Tex. And well, being kept more tight in the seat, tight on the steering wheel, overall it feels racier. The acceleration difference, GTS versus S, remember that? 0.3 seconds. Here with the Sports Chrono package, 4.3 seconds. Whereas the S with the Sports Chrono package is 4.6 seconds. And these 0.3 seconds, do you realize them really? Hardly. Not such a difference. You can also get the same sport exhaust, standard here. Suspension is maybe a little bit stiffer, especially here when you are in these sporty modes. But does it feel completely different? As for in this respect, no. But soon we'll also do our agile driving up the hill and see how the agile driving performs, like left and right and stuff. If this is different than from the S and the GTS, this will be also very interesting. You're getting off the motorway. This is just a lovely area, so much fun. And indeed, as for the agile driving, when you think about, hey, we'll go smaller or bigger, like Macan or Cayenne, yeah, the Macan is definitely more fun, whereas the Cayenne just delivers more comfort and this more floating driving experience, definitely. Although it can be sporty at any time either, you know, but here just more weight, more compact building, and yeah, that steering here is so precise, no dead zone angle whatsoever. Everything is very smooth and feels so natural. So, you know, at VW and Audi, they have more progressive steering wheels, meanwhile. Here you steer a little bit more, but they still got it best with the natural feeling of the steering. And yeah, to me, that's really, really good in a car world where everything gets more digital and everything is done by electronics. The same accounts also for the steering wheel in a way, you know, because you have, you know, also electric support. Yet at the same time, it still feels analog enough. And that's the thing here about this vehicle, also with the analog meter. There is still something analog about this vehicle, and that's what I love. Yeah, that's what I mean. Lovely. Blop, blop, blop. That V6, and yeah, I can just stress again, I'm really a fan of electric vehicles. When you drive something like this, it still gets your petrol head hard going in a way. And I really hope that in the future we can kind of have both. We already have super performance from the EVs. Maybe at some point we also get a decent sound and not spaceship BS, you know. So when you're going to normal mode, by the way, exhaust is more silent. It'll be fine. And you can also cruise on the motorway. Cruise control can be set here with the old school left column here, but it's not like a super intervening, you know, lane keeping assist and so on. So this is also kept more basic. Remember, it's a very old platform. This is the past Q5 platform. It's a very old car essentially. And when the EV Macans launched in 2023, this one here then will still be built in that way to have the, you know, ICE EV transition. This one will be even older. But again, it must not be, you know, something super bad, you know. So this is then proven tech. That's the, you know, that's the good side of it. Once again, Sport Plus mode. And let's head it out from 90 kilometers an hour. Let hell fly. Yeah, the green hell with the Python green color. And this is like green and hell characteristics here. Long turn bend. So great control over that vehicle. Wow, 220 kilometers an hour. I'm still feeling so safe. Of course, always safety first here when cars are getting on the road. And definitely with that color, everyone is seeing me miles ahead and is hopefully not cleaning. There we go. Thank you. Oh, there's another green hell car, a Mazda 2. Yeah, and that happens also. That's why you also have to pay attention, because some do not look in the rear mirror and stuff like this happens. But that's why we also have the carbon ceramic brakes here. But make no mistake, for most usages, the tungsten carbide brake will be better. They also do not create the brake dust of a classic disc brake. And here the PCCB, the ceramic brakes, you know, the thing is, you have to really push them really hard, and that's, you know, not everyone is used to that. So the ceramic brakes, especially when you begin to use them, they really want to be like hammered as the brake pedal. That, yeah, definitely have to get used to it. And also they collect small stones, quite likable. So I would not go for the option. It's just too expensive. And I think this this tungsten carbide coating is a very good compromise they're offering right now. Less brake dust, better brake performance, less fading, not as expensive as the ceramic brakes. Yeah, that's, I think, a very cool choice. What about that tunnel? Gentlemen, lower your windows. Nice. That's a sound, right? And now driving up Autogefühl's peak. Let's see that rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive together with this crisp steering. Getting out of the corner very nicely. Wow, that's super cool. And here when we're going uphill, then the GTS, you know, the 60 horsepower more, that is indeed giving us a little difference. So it's just a little bit quicker out of the corners. Once again, what a great handling, so much fun. So it's hardly possible to have so much fun in a compact or mid-size SUV. And wow, this is just pure awesomeness. Yeah, the GTS does have a little bit more spice here now, especially when going up here in these corners. Then it becomes obvious. So just straight acceleration, not necessarily, but here the combined acceleration and agile driving, handling, and uphill out of the corners. Yeah, that's where the GTS indeed just has a little bit more punch and yeah, adds a little bit more fun feeling. Yeah, I really have to admit that. However, you know, go for the GTS or go for the S? The two cars we present to you, because the S had so many extras, the price was almost equal. Yeah, then you can also go for the GTS basically. However, the S has the advantage, when you go more base version, it will be way less expensive, and you can also get non-animal skin seats, although here you have the microfiber surfaces. The problem is that you still have an added animal skin. What doesn't make any sense, of course. Yeah, so which one would I go for actually? So I think the Macan S is meanwhile the Macan to go for. So my tip would be get a Macan S, but buy it base spec, that you don't spend too much money. Because like 110 or then for the S, and we had spec, and 118 here for the GTS, the total price, it's nonsense. You know, what the hell? What are they thinking? So get a Macan S, buy it base spec, and you'll be just fine. You already get the same engine as it's here, and you also can get an animal-free S for the seats. That would be the best Macan to go for at the moment. When you want to spend incredibly amount of money for the Macan anyway, and would also spec the S to the roof, then you can also might as well go for the GTS.
Here we go. Oh.
It's literally hot here today, out in the Swedish desert, so to speak, with the Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT, a racetrack feature with the hottest Cayenne.
This quarry, they
Whoa,
bought
look
an
at
old
that.
quarry.
Oh my God, look
my
at
God.
What? We're in Gotland, Sweden for you with an all-new racetrack, and this island here is called the Swedish Majorca because it's always so hot here. And fitting to the hot wheels here with a Cayenne Turbo GT with an even stronger styling, lower end, big air intakes, LED lamps as standard, and the color here is called Arctic Grey with special wheels. And we also have other color choices for you, a green one, is it maybe German racing green, with the so-called neodyme wheels in that golden color, or maybe all black for you, with the black wheels, and another choice for you, the chalk color, a very interesting one. We also know it from the Panamera, for example. That one then with blue wheels, so even more individualization possible. Oh hey, well, what about the white one here with the golden wheels? That's a fancy combination, isn't it? Top speed of this thing, 300 kilometers an hour or 186 miles an hour, the fastest Cayenne yet, and also the quickest. Soon more with the engine details. Whew. Really hot in here right now. So then 22-inch wheels are standard here in this neodyme color. Carbon ceramic brakes are also standard for this top of the line model, and rear axle steering and anti-roll control. So everything the Cayenne offer you get with this vehicle. Also the standard air suspension sits 17 millimeters lower than with the normal turbo and 7 millimeters lower than with the GTS. So even lower than anything else, and more carbon fiber use. It has the sports lightweight package, means carbon fiber roof, and also special here for this version, another carbon fiber flap, and also even stronger rear spoilers. So actually two rear spoilers, one here, the second one there, and that brings just additional 40 kilograms, so almost 80 pounds of more downforce there in the rear. And you maybe also see that this is the coupe of the Cayenne. So the Turbo GT only available as a coupe and only available with 4 seats. The Turbo GT has a wider track, and also they increased the negative camber angles, so it's even sportier than, and yeah, actually even racetrack optimized. They have a 7-minute 38 seconds mark on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. 3.3 seconds is the acceleration figure, by the way. And there's this very special titanium exhaust, and when it's really hot, then the blue part here does really glow in blue. And then we also have a carbon fiber diffuser. Under the hood we have a 4-liter V8 bi-turbo, 640 horsepower in this case, of course all-wheel drive with rear wheel biased. And if you know that one here from the Audi RS Q8, yes, you're exactly right, it's the very same engine. And as I said, 3.3 seconds is the acceleration figure. Let's see. Key fob, light and Porsche structure, and then door closing sound. Very solid, and it also has here the option of soft close. Ta-da! Here we go. And then the interior, full of Alcantara. That's how we want it when it's racy. It's the raciest material, both for the steering wheel here, contrast stitches on the inside, and also a yellow 12 o'clock mark right there on the top part. That's beautiful. And then the Alcantara seats, also Alcantara on the middle, and even in a perforated structure for even more breathability while racy driving. And we also have the Turbo GT stitching at the seat. There are still some animal shares, but most of the interior is indeed Alcantara. Also the ceiling all the way around, that creating a beautiful and cozy but yet racy atmosphere. Also here the Porsche logo stamping on the middle console right there, and also here the grab handles, even with more Alcantara. So it's to me one of the best Porsche Cayenne's interiors I've seen. Yes, it is dark and bright is a little bit fancier, but for a racy interior here, really beautiful. And we maybe also here in the background we have some workshop atmosphere going on here now. In the interior overview we can clearly see the lovely racing features here, another Alcantara covering here for the dashboard, then special backgrounds here for the analog clock, for example, and also for the instruments, which are digital left and the right side, for example, then for the map. Then the central infotainment screen, PCM 6.0 with Android Auto surprise coming up very soon. Steering wheel with a great microfiber grip, it's the best, no doubt about that. Cozy and at the same time racy. And then we also have the drive mode select directly at the steering wheel here with the red button for this overboost function. Middle part, high gloss black, yeah, a lot, but at least we have still menu control of the climate unit. Glad to have that. And then the typical cup holders for the Porsche and so on, and also then the armrest, which can be opened for the USB-C connectors. Infotainment system here with a map and somewhat responsive, but I've had it recently in Cayennes that it sometimes failed the whole system. I hope this recent update here, the all-new update, will better that. And here you can see the island of Gotland on this island in Sweden. Yay! Android Auto for the Porsche, first time. And here we go. This is the integration. Looks like this. Apple CarPlay is possible also wirelessly. Here the Android Auto just with the cable. And I think it's actually quite clear and visible, this integration. Sometimes it has slow moments, but at the moment actually it's working quite well. So Android users can now also buy Porsches. When you're using the driving modes, here for example go to sports mode, then the sports exhaust system also is active, even more boost then. Also the suspension changes and also here in the Sport Plus and so on. And here we can extend the spoiler here also when stationary for show off or maybe for cleaning and something. It looks quite fancy indeed, but even further, it only goes then when driving really fast. Just love the seating position here in this platform. Porsche Cayenne, Audi Q7, Audi Q8, VW Touareg and so on. It's upright, it's a full-size SUV, easy entry. As a tall adult, no problem at all. And headroom here with one way is 86 or 6.1. Plenty left and electronic control of the steering wheel. What about if you're a little bit shorter? AJ is coming up, checking out here.
So, some opinions from my perspective. I'm 5'8" or 1.73 meters, thereabout. Well, I don't really feel like I'm lost in this car. It's a really slim and low dashboard, so it's not jutting out too far. The windshield, unfortunately, isn't very tall, so you still feel like you're looking through some sunglasses. But on the whole, the seating position, even with the seat all the way down, is really comfortable for me to see outside through the front and the side.
In the rear we can see it's 4 seats only. In the middle part we have just this cubby hole or something. No middle seat, but most of the time probably you can actually live with that. And this single seat setup here is actually racy, looks great, and is also at the same time quite comfortable. However, in the SUV you would have more comfort, not available here in the Turbo GT, because here with the Coupe they made the bench a little bit lower and a little bit different from the angle, so they can still offer decent headroom. But by that you lose a little bit of comfort, but still definitely bearable. At the end of the day, you need to put your racing gloves and helmets and overalls somewhere in the trunk. And you can see here, although it's racy, it's still somewhat a useful family vehicle if you want. The Coupe is a little bit limited in height, but still somewhat okay. Meter of 40 inches in width and also a meter of 40 inches in length. And you can see here, the cabin trolley is no problem even in a vertical way. Welcome guys to the racetrack. Woo! First time on the Gotland ring. This track was, at the time we shoot this video, recently opened, and it's supposed to be a mix of Nürburgring, Nordschleife, Spa, Francorchamps and Bilsterberg, and let's see what's awaiting us.
Yeah, this is brand new. I think they finished this racetrack in May, so this is a crazy racetrack you've never heard of. Similar to a Scari in my opinion, but bigger.
What is this vehicle?
Oh my god, it's a pretty tight track.
Whoa, I mean, we're driving an SUV and of course, you feel the weight and a little bit of a body roll, but I mean, considering it's an SUV, you have to bite yourself and remind it that, hey, this is an SUV, and it really feels like a sports car. Wow. Well,
Thomas, maybe when you're driving, and I'm waiting to get behind the wheel, but as a co-driver, I really feel the body roll a lot more So I mean, of course, it's
Really?
really
It's
good,
interesting.
but I feel it a lot more.
That's interesting,
I feel like I'm being tossed around a lot more.
I mean, the steering is so ultra precise and great grip from the Alcantara steering wheel. It's really important I can hold on to it. Oh, wow, that 4-liter V8 is also just seamless. I mean, there's no lag at all. Great acceleration out. Wow. It's a 911 Turbo in front of us as an instructor vehicle. Of course, that's a little bit unfair, right? That's the only reason I cannot catch up to him.
I can also feel the rotation, so that torque vectoring.
Wow, look at
the
that
rear
track.
axle. This quarry, they
Whoa,
bought
look
an
at
old
that.
quarry.
Oh my God!
Oh
Look
my
at,
God.
What? Woo! Oh
Incredible
my God! This,
compression as well.
yes, totally in
Coming
compression.
down.
200 kilometers an hour, went 125 miles an hour. Now it's like this. Wow! They put it, you know, on purpose here that you have like this shaking up process, suspension testing at its best. Now between the apex. Wow, this track is amazing. I mean, what the hell is this? Who built this and why? Obviously, we see it. Oh, we're shooting in the sky.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
They really took just an old quarry, I bet,
Holy
because there's so much rock everywhere, and then they decided, hey, what do we do with this leftover quarry? Let's build a racetrack.
Yeah.
There's so much
Totally, man.
elevation change in just that section of the track.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like you're on the moon or something, and we're shooting up in the whoa. That titanium exhaust is really
getting louder,
Whoa. Oh, this is Nordschleife now.
Yeah, the
That's
carousel.
that's
I
the
can
carousel.
recognize this.
Screaming tires, but it's really a soft compound we have there on there. You saw,
Very
right?
soft, yeah.
Whoa.
But so much grip, so much
Wow.
composure.
I mean, yeah, the grip that this car is offering here at this racetrack is amazing. And I mean, do you feel how it goes around in the corner?
It really
On the
is
rear-
breaking
wow.
physics. It's just, you know, it's like the rear axle and the front axle are intelligently working together to give you the best cornering precision.
Holy moly. This is, I mean, wow.
Thomas, you're seldom speechless, but
Yeah.
I find you quite excited at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's for sure apart the racetrack, definitely. I mean, this racetrack is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And yeah, I heard it would be challenging, but it is indeed. And it's kind of like the best of racetracks, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
And
Greatest hits.
yeah, and I mean, there's no doubt. A true sports car like the 911, for example, it will still be better on this racetrack than the Cayenne. There's no denying the fact and then no denying the physics in a way, you know.
Yeah.
But for an SUV, I guess that is as good as it gets at this moment. I don't see an SUV can be sportier than this, you know. So really impressed. So I mean, at the time, you're right, AJ. You feel the body roll, feel the weight of the vehicle, and it's in a way, seating-wise, it's more comfortable here on the racetrack in the Cayenne. But of course, you know, G-force-wise, it's more comfortable in the sports car on the racetrack, no doubt about that. But once again, I think it's a good example of what you can do with an SUV when you tune it to the max, and you will feel when you get to drive it. The moment you get on the throttle, the car gets lighter. You know, it helps the car so much more to get around the corner. So, proof of the rear wheel bias of the all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Because I mean, of course, it's all-wheel drive, so I can even more accelerate in the corners. With rear-wheel drive, we would rather, you know, wait until the exit of the corner. And here with all-wheel drive, I can sometimes, you know, I'm halfway out of the corner, I can already hammer the throttle.
Oh no, this part of the track again.
Yeah.
Thomas, here we go.
Wow, that looks
Hold on
amazing
to
with the
your
water.
lunch.
Whoa, my goodness.
I felt the traction control cutting a little bit. I heard it because
Yeah.
I think, well, we're not airborne, but we were
Oh
going to lose
my
traction.
God.
So bumpy here. Oh my God. The car's just like jumping.
200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles. Oh. Guys, I need a shower. Definitely, I need 2 showers after these laps.
You need to hose the car down.
Yeah.
And then now straight to the moon, you know?
Once
Just like
again,
Richard Branson. couple days ago. I feel like I'm being
Actually-
shot into space right now. Here we go. Oh.
Oh my goodness. Oh, what an experience here, what an experience. So, you want to try that thing?
Hell yeah.
So now AJ turn, and he promised me that I can keep my lunch. So be gentle on me, I'm a bad co-driver.
Be gentle on me, it's my first time. No.
Oh, I know where this, where the handles are here. I also have a nice Alcantara wrapped handle in the top part on the right side. So now I really know what they are for, and
I promise to go gentle. I think it's a great way to understand the car and understand its dynamics a little bit better. But it seems like I'm playing a video game with a cheat code where there's no way for me to lose traction because it's just, I don't know, it's impossible. There's so much grip.
it's hooking up so well.
It's incredible, really is. It shouldn't be this easy to drive something this heavy, this quickly. Something is wrong.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, considering it's an SUV, I would have imagined it worse as a co-driver. But I mean, yes, you feel it's no low-seating sports car. Mm-hmm. I mean, time-wise, you can score really good lap times here.
Yeah, I mean, as a driver, I'm a lot more focused. My body is always leaning in.
Yeah,
I'm in the zone, right? So for me, I don't feel like I'm being tossed around so much, whereas you would as the co-driver.
roller coaster.
This track is just ridiculous. It really feels like you're on the moon.
It's absolutely ridiculous, this track. It's probably the most ridiculous track I've driven. Yes,
We've been to a lot of racetracks.
Yeah.
I mean, Nürburgring many times, and then some others. This really feels like the moon because of the white rocks, and then like these huge craters. It's really distracting, this gorgeous drop and this pond on the left, but you gotta keep in line here.
Take your focus, on the right there, like.
Yeah, otherwise you're gonna be in the wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, the steering, Porsche steering is always impeccable. This is no different. Along with that torque vectoring differential and rear steering, it really is continuously manipulating the way the rear wheels are pointing, and it just helps you rotate the car so easily. That four-wheel drive as well, which can shuffle power, and that anti-roll, that active body control with those active anti-roll bars.
Yeah,
really, I think it just
very straight, man.
it shouldn't be this easy. The seats are really, holding me in place really well. The braking also, by the way, is really good. It's again, the car kind of wraps itself around you. I'm taking it slow. It's a cool down lap now.
It's cool, but even at that speed, it's like the whole entrails come like.
You go a little bit weightless for a moment.
Yeah, totally.
I think we've had enough fun hooning this SUV around on the racetrack. Let's take it out around Sweden, around Gotland a little bit, and try to see if it's an SUV you can live with. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, we've been to the racetrack and it was an amazing performance for an SUV. But what about, you're not racing this SUV all day on the racetrack. So what about the normal driving experience? And I would say so far, fairly comfortable, right?
Yeah, it's a really great SUV to live with. I think the sound insulation is something that we first noticed. Despite the really big wheels, the carbon fiber roof, there's still quite a lot of sound deadening.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel so much different from a normal Cayenne. Of course, you feel the sport air setup, that's stiffer. The steering to me is way firmer than in the normal Cayenne, also driving it on the road. But I wouldn't say that, you went for the sportiest version, you cannot use it on the road. I think it still does a good job with the air suspension. You feel this lower and stiffer setup, I think also as a passenger. But still, it's not that I would say, this is now an uncomfortable car. And I think that's also the secret about the Cayenne. People go for it to get the Porsche feeling, but without the back pain from a 911 or something.
Absolutely. The seats are also really comfortable. I think the padding is just right. Because this is a wider car or an SUV, I think the seats are also a little bit more generous, you know? They're a little bit wider. Plus, there's plenty of soft touch materials anywhere you look, anywhere your legs, your knee, your arms, your elbows might touch.
Alcantara steering wheel is just lovely.
Padded armrest on the door, here in the central console, even this little kind of haunch here for me to rest my palm.
Look at that, AJ is hardly moving as a passenger.
Hardly moving, yeah.
I mean, it's also like because of the microfiber seats.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hot today outside, and we don't even need the seat cooling because the microfiber seat, we don't sweat in that so much, and it also keeps you tighter. So that's really good for your passengers.
Yeah, perforated, and it's I think the entire cabin has an aura of quality and rigidity. Everything is taut and tight. A little bit too much black for my taste. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like the contrasting elements, but I also love bright interior. I mean, this is like this rather subtle, sporty styling. That's cool. Oh, they put the microfiber horns here. That's great. It's also better for like when you touch it with your knees here. Exactly. That's really good. And here, that rear extra steering, it's really playing an effect, right? You feel that something is moving, you know, in the rear. Although it would be, I think we can slow down a little bit. Yeah, when we're at slow speed, then there we go. You also feel it in the steering wheel. When you're driving really slow, then you feel the rear wheels are going in the opposite direction than the front wheels. Steering feels a little bit lighter then, and the car feels, it's kind of like this faking a shorter wheelbase.
Exactly. It kind of spins like around its axis like a top. I mean, the first time I drove this platform was, I think, about 3-4 years ago with the Touareg. And then, even with the RSQ8 that we had recently, it really shrinks this bulk, this length and this width. Well, you can't really do much, but it really makes it easy to maneuver. And again, coming back to that livability that the Cayenne has, you're not really compromising much. It's bigger than the Macan, but then some people need bigger cars. They need to have more space for their lifestyle activities, family, and so on.
I found, like, as a tall person, also a little bit more comfortable than the Macan. The Macan is already also, of course, it's a mid-size SUV, it's comfortable enough, but you do get a little bit more comfort in here in the Cayenne, even though it is like this super high spec version. And probably this is like now the pinnacle of the Cayenne, probably from this generation as far as we will ever go in this generation, I guess. News from the Porsche Taycan here on Autogefühl with Thomas. There's now the Taycan GTS, supposed to be not the fastest, but the sportiest model. And also the Sport Turismo is out there now. The estate form as the sporty, elegant look. Before, only the Cross Turismo with crossover cladding. Now there's also the Sport Turismo, and with the GTS here, a racetrack feature for you. The GTS model, all about the dark look. That's why also the background for the headlamps is black. The matrix LED are standard here then also for the GTS model. And simple but clean and sport design in lower part. Interesting how they hit the camera right there. This one here, the chalk gray color. The other one, the carmine red. And another difference we can already see here. This one here is equipped with the optional carbon ceramic brakes, whereas the other one has the standard brakes, then with the red brake calipers, but they're already bigger than the usual ones. And turning indicators look like this, really cool with this 4-dot style in the front. And in the rear like this, not cascading though. A Taycan length is always at 4.96 m or 195 inches, and this one here is not only the new GTS but also the new Sport Turismo. That means you have this estate form, strong shoulders, and again you might remember the Cross Turismo had this crossover cladding here, is also a little bit higher, more like soft off-roadish aspect, and here now without that, just a sporty, elegant look. So people were actually searching for that version. Now it is here. The GTS also has these badgings here in the side spoilers and also comes with black wheels. Of course, you can then also opt again for other ones. 20 or here optional 21 inch. Charging, by the way, this is one of the specialties of the Porsche Taycan here, this charging flap, 11 kilowatt AC or optional 22 kilowatt AC. Here on the left side or on the other side, or it would be other way around in UK vehicles. You also have the DC charging flap. That one goes up to 270 kilowatt. And that means from 5 to 80% in ideal conditions with the best charging station, 22 minutes then. The overall range for this 84 kilowatt hour net battery, always comes with a bigger one here, around 400 kilometers or 250 miles. The range has been increased a little bit now here for this model. It will also be updated for all the other Taycan models. And what did they do? They did actually increase the efficiency. Why doesn't it close on? Let's see. There we go. So they increased the efficiency. There's less friction now in the electric motors, and also software-wise some updates, and the whole Taycan family will profit from that. Air suspension is standard. Optional also the rear axle steering, and this air suspension here in the GTS is set on a stiffer note. Here again as comparison our different color, and this one is also the normal sedan form here with the falling roofline. Would like to know from you guys, which one do you find more beautiful? For me, clearly the typical sedan line more beautiful, but then again the Estate has such an advantage as for the trunk area, soon to come in the interior part. Power and price wise, the GTS sits between the 4S and the turbo versions. And speaking about the power, peak power is 600 horsepower and 850 newton meters of torque. The torque figure is actually the same like the turbo models because the rear electric motor is the very same. So all Taycan get the same front electric motor, all-wheel drive Taycans of course. And then the rear electric motor is different with the GTS and the Turbo S. It's a stronger one than for the rear. And with 3.7 seconds in the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, the GTS model here is half a second slower than the Turbo. Why? That's just software tune. Top speed, by the way, 250 kilometers an hour or 155 miles an hour. And what's even more interesting, the brake recuperation goes to a power of maximum of 275 kilowatt. That means when you go top speed and then just brake or use this full recuperation, you can charge the car faster by recuperation than with the charging station. Of course, this is a short-term effect then in this case, but really adds to the range overall. In the rear here, light strip goes all the way across the vehicle, black Taycan GTS badge. Also your dark look here everywhere you see, also in the lower part. So once again, the GTS about this sinister look. And the sedan form here, falling roofline once again with the spoiler, a little bit less drag. Different with the Sport Turismo. And here the difference with the Sport Turismo, you can see not that falling roofline, a little more upright, but this brings us definitely into these advantages for the trunk. Ta-da! Of course, easier to load things in and out. 450 liters instead of 400 liters with the sedan. Then here with the Sport Turismo, up to 1,210 liters. You can fold the seats here. The width here is 88 centimeters or 35 inches, not the widest width definitely. Here the cabin trolley does fit in also in a vertical way, and the normal trunk length is about 1 meter or 40 inches. Well, yeah, you want to see the total length, right? So when I fold the seats, like this is actually quite substantial, 190 centimeters, 1 meter 90 or 74 inches. So that's actually quite cool. So definitely plus for the Sport Turismo. And here is a comparison for the normal sedan. You have just this small hole right here. However, in both cases, you have here this small space then for the charging cable, for example. This is the car key, and Porsche has experience with trunks from their combustion engine models. That's why there's also no problem here for the electric vehicle. And this looks like a 911 indeed, and it's also well usable for smaller luggage pieces and so on. Here, when you're close to the vehicle, or when you open it, the door handles adapt accordingly, and the haptic feedback they give is a little bit strange, I have to say. Door closing sound is somewhat just okay. With frameless doors, it's always a problem that the door closing sound is not that good actually. Sometimes we have rare cases where it is still good, that's especially good, but not here with the Taycan. Dual insulation glass here, however, that it stays silent on the interior. Instead of the doors here, first Alcantara insert, red contrast stitches, but you can also get it without red contrast stitches if you like. Microfiber steering wheel, great racy grip, that's how it's supposed to be. And also the seats here in the GTS, all about the Alcantara, the microfiber surface right here. and also with this nice GTS stamp or stitching here in the top part. However, this one is not a completely animal-free interior, although you have so much Alcantara, unnecessary use of animal skin, for example at the inside of the doors. However, also for the GTS, like standard for the Turbo S, you can get the completely animal-free interior. In this case then, you still have a lot of Alcantara, but the inside of the seats have also fabric inserts, a mix of fabric and Alcantara then. Climate-wise, it's even better because the fabric stays a little bit cooler than the microfiber in summertime. So definitely go for the animal-free interior for the GTS model here as well. Getting on the interior, well, it is a sporty, racy seating position. Here we have set the seat all the way back at the moment. Steering wheel like this, you can adjust it up and down. And for long term, it's not the most comfortable vehicle, definitely not. More comfortable than 911. Yes, it is, but you know, with tall person, you can find a good seating position. A lot of headroom left here with 1.86 or 6'1". And for this version, there will also be a special panoramic roof available with an electrochromatic function that you can actually have, you know, electronically induced shade in the glass. So now it's open, then I close it. Whoa, this really looks fancy, right? Really cool. Or when I use these segments here, like scrolling, this looks really amazing. Wow, look at that. So, and then there are these two presets where, you know, it's like this or like this. I mean, not sure how useful this is actually. This is more to me like show effect. I think it is such a great show effect, definitely. But I think it's more or less more about open or close. And when you have it closed like this, just 15% of the heat is still coming towards the cabin. So they say that it's even more effective than a classic mechanical shade. So yeah, I think either open or close, because you know this. Why should? Yeah, I think it's open or close, or just playing around with it, right? So in this lower screen, there's then this new button right here, and then you have different possibilities to control. It's really hard to see, but here then you can just swipe up and down and change what's happening on the roof and pick the different segments. Or do it here in the infotainment screen, up and down, choose the different segments, or here then these presets like close completely, or these two dimming presets. And from the outside you can see nothing basically, it always looks like this. At the moment we are switching through the modes, but you can't see any difference on the outside. And here the interior of the GTS, if you do not like red contrast stitches, you can also get these seats here without the red contrast stitches, more in a grey subtle style. Interior overview, clean and sporty, also with more Alcantara right here. This is actually good to make it also a little bit softer here for your knees. And then screens. The instruments, yeah, they are a little bit blocked by the steering wheel indeed. And then the main screen and optional passenger screen, which can also, for example, show G-force meter. And then this, you know, another screen here. But yeah, you control the temperature right here. The Audi e-tron GT, the sister model, has real climate dials. That's better because that's actually too much screen, I think. And then adaptive cup holders here and a very cramped area to put your smartphone. Yes, the analog clock should not be missing, always a nice feature. So the outside parts are a little bit blocked, but that's not such a big problem. Here in the middle part, the speed. On the right side, for example, you can see the driving modes, but you can also have different contents in there on all the three different screens. So you can pick it here, for example, also GPS information and so on. Drive information, by the way, as for the trip, when we are on the racetrack, it's about 90 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers for the racetrack consumption, if you're interested in that. PDCC is an option, by the way, that the car stays more upright. And then here in the middle part, you can also, for example, have a map, or also here this 3D map is up. You can also put to the extended map like this. Infotainment system up close, depending on the driving mode. Here, normal, sport, Sport Plus, you can see the parameters change. For example, all the chassis level goes lower. Electric Sport sound is also then on in the Sport Plus mode. So if it's more accentuated here in the GTS as well. And in the individual mode, you can individualize the whole settings. Then this is here the main menu. It's actually okay to get along. The map is also quite responsive here on the Luca Major circuit on the beautiful island of Majorca today. And CarPlay, this is the integration. And we have the Bose sound system in here, which delivers a typical Bose style, very crystal clear sound like that. Here, by the way, pretty cool. Even at 90% of state of charge, still at over 90 kilowatt. That's pretty cool. And here, when you're at 95%, then it drops down, but still really quick in charging. Seats in the rear also with Alcantara, and the middle part here, you see it is an EV platform, but they also put battery cells here in this middle tunnel, so to speak. And then for your feet, they're the so-called foot garages that you can still put your feet underneath the seat. That's actually quite good, but you crouch, you know, in the back a little bit. However, it's not too uncomfortable, although it looks like this. And here in the Sport Turismo or the Cross Turismo, the advantage is even if you put your spine up with 1m86 or 6'1", still some headroom left. So this works way better for tall people than the sedan version. Let's take a look at the comparison very soon. Other than that, you also have this rear climate unit, for example, with the touchscreen and adaptive cup holders. And comparison here to the sedan in the rear, when I have my spine rather relaxed like this, it's okay. But when I put my spine upright, then I do hit the ceiling with my head. So that's then the difference, like this difference here to the Sport Turismo, where you have less headroom here. Thomas's EV Performance Driving Lounge with the Porsche Taycan GTS. Launch control here. Let's see what we got. Whoa! That was 160 kilometers an hour on this one straight of this racetrack here on Majorca Island. Sport Plus mode. Wow, what a performance. And that was even uphill. It was a launch control uphill. And there's the rest of the crew here waiting for me, taking off on that racetrack. And they were waiting for me to do that launch control just for you guys. Wow, amazing performance. Of course, the Turbo and the Turbo S has a little bit more speed in the acceleration. This one here at 3.7 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour. However, yeah, they use the same hardware here. This is really interesting. So in the Taycan GTS, the same electric motors, the same rear electric motors than in the Turbo and the Turbo S. It's indeed just that they tuned it down here in comparison to the Turbo S, but when you drive this one here and then you say something of, oh, it's tuned down, you wouldn't really believe it. The thing is, in comparison to the Turbo and the Turbo S, here we have the different suspension setup. So the air suspension is set on a stiffer note, and that brings us more performance here on the racetrack. So it's easier, for example, when turning in and so. It's really early in the morning at this moment here on the racetrack, and that means the racetrack is still a little bit wet because here you can see the moist. And yeah, in that Sport Plus mode, the car is also allowing that. When I'm in the normal driving mode, the car does not allow that. But here in the Sport Plus mode, the ESC is drawn back, and that's why we can also have some slight drifting fun in that respect. But center of gravity is really low. All the battery weight in the center, in the lower part of the vehicle. Yeah, you hear that. The racetrack is still, you know, not really, not that dry and also not that clean. So we have some stones flying all over the place. Yeah, it's really hurtful hearing that on that really expensive, precious vehicle. Starting price in Germany around 130k, but with some more equipment, of course, even more expensive then. But less expensive than the Turbo and the Turbo S, and of course the driving performance, yeah, there's nothing to miss there in the GTS if you compare it to the Turbo and the Turbo S. And yeah, you feel that this little bit stiffer setup here is especially helping us on the racetrack. We have all-wheel drive, of course, one electric motor in the front, one in the rear there, and 2-speed gearbox for the rear electric motor. And you maybe also picked it up here from the sound, you know, this electric vehicle, of course, but we have a different electric motor sound. So now let the colleague next to me pass, because we always switch it here on the racetrack. Sometimes, you know, one round the other journalist behind the instructor, then the next round I'm again. And it's really interesting, by the way, when you're behind an instructor, like behind the professional racing driver, you're always faster yourself. Here now again, this wet corner. This time, you know, I stayed a little bit more upright because the tires are already a little bit warmer, for example. Accelerating out of the corner. With the all-wheel drive, by the way, you can, on the one hand, be very early on the gas. On the other hand, of course, here you have a lot of weight with that vehicle. So the physical limits of the EVs are still there, of course. You know, almost at 180 kilometers an hour. Now hard on the brakes. See also the brake light flashing right there. So the thing is here with the weight, you do feel it at some point, of course, yes. So the EVs are so much fun on the racetrack, and the great performance, torque is already there. How can I, accelerate out of the corners? It's really amazing. On the other hand here, when we are into the corners, then you do feel the weight, of course. And at some point on the racetrack, weight, of course, plays a major role. And yes, lighter sports cars are better for the racetrack, but that's a racetrack thing. When you're driving these vehicles here on public roads, then the weight does not have such a negative effect. You would feel like, the vehicle is so much less agile or something. So that's the crucial point. I would really like to know from you guys, what do you think actually about the electric sound here? It has been, it's just a little bit different, has a little bit different tune here for the GTS model. And you even, when there's like this shift from the, 1 to the second gear there, even that, was remarkable. Maybe you scroll back and listen to that again. Definitely amazing experience. First time for me with the Taycan on the racetrack. Was amazing. So much fun. Yes, weight is there. On the other hand, low center of gravity. So pro and con definitely with EVs on the racetrack, but super impressive the performance here of the Taycan GTS. The Porsche Panamera has been updated. We have all the new details here for you. And this is here today, the Porsche Panamera Turbo S in Mamba Green. More horsepower than before, and we'll also take it out to the racetrack. Please join us in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. In the front, this recent Panamera facelift changed a little bit of this lower area for all models, so a little bit bolder from the design, and also the daytime running light and lower part has been modified a little bit. Here in the Turbo S, you can see it has this double design here, and it's also a little bit more stretched. The main headlamp unit here, LED, different trims available there as well. The color for today, as I said, is Mamba Green, so very, very strong color. Of course, there are different nuances available, and indeed from the front it looks like a sports car if you haven't seen this stretched side profile yet. So overall, of course, a minor change just from the visual part, just little notches. 5 meters 05, 16 foot 6 or 199 inches is the length of the short wheelbase version of the Panamera. And there's also the executive version, long wheelbase, which is then 15 centimeters or 6 inches longer, and for more legroom here in the rear. And there's also still the Sport Turismo, this so-called estate, which then continues right over a little bit more here. We also have a shot there for you, even available as a Turbo S, so in the different engine versions, just that the Sport Turismo is only available with all-wheel drive. And there's also, for example, the GTS available still, which has this more menacing look with dark wheels, for example. Here the Turbo S comes with everything they have. So 21-inch wheels, the biggest ones. There are also new designs here for the update in 20-inch and 21-inch. This also features directly the carbon ceramic brakes for even more non-fading performance, for example, on the racetrack. And indeed, you can take this car on the racetrack. It will be a blast, I can tell you. So keep on watching this review. And then you can see this typical very fluent shape of the Panamera with very, very strong shoulders. And technology-wise, as I said, the Turbo S here packed with everything they have. So the adaptive air suspension is included in this one here. Then the new PDCC Sport. Call this update here now. This is the anti-roll, anti-tilt control. The car is staying upright. They've tuned that and also reworked a little bit suspension settings so the car is supposed to be even sportier but without losing comfort. Is that true? We'll find out. And also rear axle steering is available, so at slower speeds it turns in the opposite direction than the front wheels, at higher speeds in the same direction for more stability. And this is again a standard feature then for the Turbo S. But then of course the Turbo S is also double the price of a base Panamera. In the rear, the light strip here now goes all the way from left to right, also aligning with the recent newer Porsche models. So this has been updated and also made more three-dimensional, more sculptural. So definitely fitting to the vehicle. The Turbo S also gets the foldable wing that also goes up to the side. So looks quite impressive, but I think it looks better when it's like this, just more elegant integrated design. Then a new diffuser has been used right here. And new sports exhaust for all V8 models. So the Turbo S of course, and the GTS is also the V8 model, so it will also get the sports exhaust, because they said, we know when they put some filter technologies to it now, they still wanted to have a nice sound now. So what they did is to make the sound from the left to the right side a little bit different, so it sounds, let's say, more three-dimensional also when the car is passing by. You already heard some shots in the intro. Would you say it worked? Tell us in the comments. Engines, it's all about more horsepower in this facelift. It will start with the base engine 2.9 liter V6 bi-turbo, which will then also be the base for the new 4SE hybrid, then with 560 horsepower, so a horsepower upgrade for that as well. And then the V8 models, for example the GTS will get the V8, and also this one here, the Turbo S, pure ICE 4 liter V8 bi-turbo engine. In this case then 630 horsepower now, 820 Newton meters of torque, and 3.1 seconds is the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. That's 0.3 seconds faster than the so far top model. But make no mistake, it's not that they cancelled their hybridization top hybrid strategy now. They will later also again be the Turbo SE hybrid once again. And so overall they will have 3 hybrids then in their total lineup. But definitely a lot of choices. Of course, no diesel anymore. Porsche abandoned these, and definitely still a focus on the hybrids, although we have here the strongest pure combustion engine for today. Khaki, slim and light, but really premium. And also these muscular shoulders that are formed at the sides. Then either press here to open or keyless entry also, on the outside to close it, on the inside here to open the vehicle. We also have the contrasting black handles in here in this case. First of all, door closing sound, really solid, but this car is also equipped with the soft close. Magic. So then inside of the doors, and we have a contrasting scheme here, dark at the top, bright at the bottom. Yeah, this black panel, you see it looks sleek, but when scratches or fingerprints, then not anymore. Nice clicking sound. Levers here for the windows. The door pockets are quite slim. This here is equipped with the Bose sound system and Panamera Turbo S entry badge as well. And here once again we have this contrasting, the dark on the top, because this is also creating less reflections. For example, when it would be bright it would look cool, but definitely more reflections in the windscreen. And the lower part then here in the bright again. This is then how to ignite the vehicle. So like this. There's also this comfort entry function, depending on how you have set everything, that the, for instance, the steering wheel goes up and the seat goes back and so on. Here we also have the microfiber steering wheel, which I really recommend to have a great grip always, and it feels cozy in winter. Yet again, it's also good in summer for the grip. And there's a heated function. You hear it here behind it. There's the button for the heated steering wheel just behind the steering wheel. It's actually a nice position, you just have to know that. And there's nothing better than the heated microfiber steering wheel when it's really, really cold in winter. It's perfect, really. Driving mode selector here at the steering wheel, and the steering wheel has been reworked with the facelift. You can, for example, see now you have, like in the 911 or in the Taycan, these updated jog wheels. So they control then the digital instruments. And on the left side, the same here then for the volume. And this is definitely easier to control. So I think it's a sleek design here also with this, real screw design. At the same time, easy to control volume and also the instruments. And then also with the drive mode selector, which you can easily do while driving. Shifting pedals also, they are very crisp and nice to use. And soon we'll also give you more details about the instruments and the infotainment screen. First of all, the seats. For the Panamera, you get either a base seat, which is a little bit more open, or then you get a sport seat, which has this additional shoulder support right here. In the GTS, you can also get Alcantara on the middle part. That would be the owner solution, which contains less animal skin. So far, the Panamera lineup is not that good in this respect. I talked to the boss of the model line, and he said he is also realizing more and more demand for animal-free solutions, so they're looking into that, but did not implement that in the facelift yet. So far, GTS model for Alcantara, or then you have to go for the Taycan for totally animal-free interior. However, comfort-wise, for the seat form, this is also what this car is about, that you have, for example, way more comfort than in a 911, for example. And the seat form itself, you sit low, so it reminds you of sports vehicles, yes, yet at the same time you have more space. And here the steering wheel can be moved up and down and in and out electric way. And you can find a very nice seating position even if you're quite tall, 1.86 or 6'1". And this is here, plenty of headroom, and look at that. I mean, this bright Alcantara ceiling, wow. This is really amazing. Although we don't have the panoramic roof here, which would be an option, this brings so much light in the interior. It looks cozy, like a living room atmosphere, looks premium. And look at that, even here the handles, the inside handles are covered with Alcantara and having like a strengthening in the middle. So then they're also dampened from the inside, and of course this is also dampened when they go back. So this would be something for when you drive a little bit racier here as a driver, which is totally possible with that car. You should check it out in the racetrack part. Then as a co-driver or passenger, we always say co-driver here, we use the ready speech intentionally. Then it really feels good to grab that handle and hold tight. Now the interior overview, and as we know from Porsche with the horizontal stress, definitely right here and here. Very clean design, also with the analog clock there in the top part. There's also a new design for that available right now. Here then the microfiber steering wheel, you should definitely get that, as I said, really nice grip. And it's really a clean design, however you still have all the controls you might possibly need. Soon more details to these instruments, which are digital on the side and analog one in the middle part. And on the right side we have the widescreen format here. The software has been updated, also the map data and so on. So slight updates here with the facelift for that. Soon we'll also go in detail what you can do with that. Then in the lower part you don't have too many physical buttons. You do have still some left, like a control knob right here. For example, you can zoom in and out with that in the map. That's possible. The volume here, for example, is then in this case not controlled with that, but with another jog here below that. Not sure if you can see it at the moment on camera. But here then this nice metal knurling also for the AC unit. Good to control it while driving, for example. And everything else is, touch sensitive, capacitive buttons. It looks cool as soon as it's clean. But then of course collect some fingerprints here, for example, for suspension setting. And if you use the drive mode selector and the steering wheel, it also changes the suspension setting alongside. And there's a small cubby right there. It would otherwise be the smoker's package if you have that. And then the cup holders are somewhat adaptive. You either have it like integrated, also better for cleaning, for example, and then you can just push it in with the bottles, 2 different sizes. It was actually quite nice. And then you have this little strangely opening armrest here. But underneath, not too much space left. A little bit for your smartphone right there. USB-C charging there now. inductive charging at the side, and that's it. And the infotainment right here, it's actually quite responsive. Here at the builds up like a racetrack for you here today. Good visualization. Main menu looks like this. You can also individualize that. My favorite menu is this always, the car menu. For example, when you put out the spoiler or put it in again for your friends, then you can also see the visualization right there. And you see that the adaptive air suspension here, which is usually an option for the Panamera or comes automatically with the Turbo S. Also everything adjusts according to the driving modes. In the sports mode, for example, it goes down automatically and so on. And the climate unit can also be controlled here. For example, like where the vents are coming from. That you have to do in the menu right here. There's this hotkey menu here. You can also control where you want to have what. For example, if you want to have the CarPlay right, more in the upper part. There's the integration, and that's basically it. There's a split screen here. So I think it just works quite well. CarPlay is now also available wireless, but you can pick if you still want to have the cable or the wireless connection. And the Bose sound system, which is here, actually has a very good surround sound, really bass heavy. I also have one at home. I really like the sound because it's a very clear and let's say a pretty straightforward sound they do. However, sometimes you have to tune the bass a little bit down if you want to have more crystal clear sound and not such bass intensive sound. But of course that always depends on liking. You can of course change the settings here always. You have different modes also, how you want to have it. That changes a little bit how you perceive it. Then of course you can also do more here, for example with the equalizer here for the bass and so on. Now a detailed look at the instruments. Once again, pretty cool. They have the analog RPM meter right there, and then left and right are screens. And on the right side you can change it up like this. Here also with the GPS map, for example. It will also appear when you just approach the next intersection, for example. That's a cool function. And here the all-wheel drive distribution, of course a rear biased all-wheel drive. And then you can just take a look at that while driving. The more you hammer it, the more power it will also give to the front wheels. And here at the steering wheel you can also then switch over to the left gauge. And then also have, for example, GPS input right there, or assistance systems information and so on. And I think, yeah, that's actually easy and straightforward. And the head-up display is always a nice option to have here with speed, current speed, and also some GPS arrow if you have a route set. Note that in real life, they always look a little bit bigger and crisper than they might appear on camera. Now to the rear seating area, of course the same design as in the front, and even memory seating here for the rear seats. This is of course an option, and with the electric seats for the rear, you can see the controls there in the lower part. And in the sedan here of the Panamera, it would start with single seats. An option, you can pick the through bench if you want to have a third seating in the rear, and the Sport Turismo, the Estate, would start with a through bench, and there you can optionally go for the single seat setup. This looks more executive-like. You have these special controls and also digital controls for the climate unit. This of course looks really fancy. Yeah, of course it's not necessary, but what is necessary with the Porsche? Here it's not about what is necessary, but what is cool. So let's get inside here. And it's a long vehicle, and therefore we also have enough legroom here also when I have the seat as I would be driving. But of course it's clear that a car in this segment is not really like good packaging wise if you look at exterior-interior relation. And you fall a little bit backwards here with the bench, so you do have enough space here. Also electric control here of the length of the seat, for example, and also the back part of the seat, and with the electric control, for example, also electric lumbar support. I mean, you get along definitely, and it is in one way luxurious. Here headroom wise it still works, so you don't need a Sport Turismo for more headroom here. But I would not say it's the most comfortable position here in the rear. So for more comfort I would definitely, for example, prefer a Cayenne in the rear. Even a Macan is definitely more comfortable here in the rear. So it looks fancy, but I wouldn't, I wouldn't trade the rear seats for seating in the front in this case than here. But I can't get over the beauty of these handles here in the rear, these Alcantara covered handles. And again, well, yeah, probably I would just just hold on tight to them, just because they're cool, like so cool handles. I just have to hold them all the time while driving, right? Here in the middle part, you can see you have these cup holders, and they are a little bit tricky. Like you can fold this up. By the way, here USB supplies, 3 USB-C now, and then push this one, and it goes up a little bit. Then you have even more cup holder height. So, and then push it back again, that you can close this once more. And one more close up here, seat heating also in this console, and also nice clicking sounds here at the rear, also with the manual AC unit. And there's one button right here, this is for the rear shade, and that's a pretty fancy option, because when we go up here in the middle part, we have either, which one first, Jonas? This one, okay. There we go. Yay! That's nice, right? And this one would be the ski hatch, or you can have it just as a armrest with some space underneath. And yeah, I mean, you can enjoy also your executive life here when you're sitting in, like, I really want to drive this car myself. For, as it stands here, 204,000 euros. 90k the entry price for the Panamera, 180 for the Turbo S, and here even more, 20-something K extra options in this very car. So yeah, that's the price of a supercar sedan in this case. Boot capacity is in both cases around 500 liters or 18 cubic feet, both sedan and Sport Turismo. They don't differ that much because it is measured here below the cover. The Sport Turismo has a little bit more height right here, and here in the sedan also you have this high loading sill right there. That's not that practical, however, so you can still very well use the trunk here, a little bit wider in the sides. Underneath here some of the sound equipment, and there's this, split. You can put this one down, just the middle ski hatch, and the other sides you have a 1/3, 2/3, or also 1/1/1, depending on what you like. And let's put a cabin trolley inside. You can see the dimensions here in a more practical way, and it also fits here in a vertical way, but not all the way up till the end. So we have to push it a little bit further in. So here, for example, even like this, probably then it will not close, just as a very practical test. Or let's see, that might still work, will it? No, will not. So here in a vertical way, push it like this, here, then it works. This is again an advantage then of the Sport Turismo. Measures here, the normal trunk length is 1.5 meters, and you have more space here, like 130, 135 right there, but the normal width right here in between this area, this is a little bit less. This is just 90 centimeters in width. That's not too much, and the height here below the cover right here would be about 40 centimeters, but then decreasing right here. Welcome to Thomas's Active Driving Lounge with the Porsche Panamera facelift S, Porsche Panamera Turbo S. Here we're on the Bilsterberg racetrack, and we'll start with the launch control. We have an exclusive slot just for you. Launch control 3.1 seconds is the acceleration figure official. Let's see how it scores right here, and then we'll just hammer it on the racetrack. Let's go. Whoa, that was 170 kilometers an hour. Pretty impressive. Whoa, that happened. So there is also our instructor, and let's now hammer it here with the new facelifted setups. We're going to talk about the Panamera in general, and also about the changes here, and of course also about this racetrack, which has a lot of topography changes here, just like in the center of Germany. Wow. Yeah, assist system is still active. We're in the Sports Plus mode. Sports Plus mode means that the electronic stability control is drawn back, shifting is optimized, so the gears are turned up higher, and also the suspension is set stiffer. Adaptive air suspension in here, now set on a stiffer tone. Then the PDCC, this is this anti-roll, anti-tilt control, is updated in this facelifted version. That means even more active. Look at that. You can get the car also a little bit sideways. Have to counter steer a little bit. Now topography changes. wow, and so much G-force is applied here. This is really crazy stuff. So the car keeps so straight. I mean, there's hardly any leaning at all. Then I have the rear axle steering, which helps me with lower speeds, with more agility, and at higher speeds with more stability. Now there's this incline, like at 200 kilometers or 125 miles an hour, and really getting the stomach pushed all the way down. Whoa, and look at that. I mean, how the car is stable and so agile, and it feels light, you know, of course not as light as a sports car right in front of us, but the way this big sedan, you know, and heavy sedan handles here on the racetrack is absolutely incredible. Like this, you know, wow. Once again, almost 200 kilometers an hour, hard on the brakes. It's interesting that the sensors, they detect actually, you know, the car in front of us there as well. So, wow, I mean, the acceleration out there is like, from the shifting and the power output, there would be no resistance at all. The torque is always there, always right there, from the 630 horsepower. And look at the steering. I don't have to steer that much. They have also updated the steering. So the hardware part, yes, and also the software part, the steering feel. So it's even more precise, even more progressive. You have to steer less. There's no dead zone area. One of the most perfect steering feelings I have felt so far. And you just have to see the degree angles of the corner I'm driving and what I'm doing with the steering wheel. It's really pretty much aligned. And even here going uphill, you do not feel in this vehicle that you're going uphill power-wise. If you're going uphill or downhill, it doesn't make no difference. The power is still always there. You know, pushing this car in the corner, a little bit of counter steer now in this S chicane. Look at that, wow. I mean, I'm really handling this car as it would be a light sports vehicle. So if you think about, oh, I'm going to buy a Porsche Panamera as a track car, yeah, why not? And that's the thing, you know. Of course, no one would actually do that, but the thing is that you can actually. That's the most extraordinary thing about this vehicle. And I've been driving this Panamera here on the racetrack a couple of times. We went on Vancouver Island with the Turbo SE Hybrid, for example. We went with the GDS in Bahrain Formula 1 racetrack. You can also check out these episodes later on. And here now this facelifted version. Indeed, what I feel is it's even more precise as for the steering. Suspension-wise, even more upgraded. The car stays more upright. It is, on the one hand, easier to handle, I would say, but at the same time, it is more extreme as for the speed you can score. And that is also underpinned by this 7 minutes 39 lap time on the Nürburgring Nordschleife by Porsche Works driver Lars Kern. New lap record for this vehicle segment here. With this very vehicle we are driving, just a little bit, you know, modified with the sport seats and of course for safety. And yeah, I can just stress again, this is probably, I guess this is the sportiest big sedan overall. And yeah, once again, incredible what you can do with this vehicle. The Sports Plus mode, by the way, it does allow you to set the car a little bit sideways, yet at the same time you're not absolutely out of control. Here there's like a corner where you can really stress that. And I mean, in the front, our instructor, professional racing driver as well. Of course, I have no chance against him, but I don't feel that it would be the car, you know. I'm also an experienced racetrack driver, but of course no professional in this case, if you compare it to these guys. But still, I don't feel that it would be the car that is limiting me, you know. And they actually told us that about 5 years ago, the lap times that you could score with the Panamera would equal the one of the top 911 sports model, like GT3 RS or something. And that's of course something really, really incredible. Sound-wise, by the way, this new sports exhaust for the V8 models, updated also, that you get sound feedback like this. Also, even when there are these OPFs, these particle filters for the petrol engines. So I think you still have a nice and decent sound, although there's more technology for us, for breathing, for the environment as well. And one more here. Now I'll leave you with some more corners without comment, that you can just enjoy some driving impressions together with the sound. Welcome to Thomas's normal driving lounge. Did you know that you can drive a Porsche Panamera Turbo S even street legal on roads and not only on the racetrack? Big news, right? Yeah, of course the reality is just the other way around. Probably no customer ever will use it on the racetrack, but we've shown you it is definitely more than possible. Starting with some countryside routes here alongside on the racetrack, and then also drive outside. And this is really the thing about this vehicle: adaptive air suspension. And although 21-inch wheels are mounted, it's still fairly comfortable. Yet at the same time, with this new steering setup, even crisper. And see here, it's so precise from the steering, and you also have resistance. So it's not, quite a lot of modern steerings. They're just like moving through thin air, and they're sometimes direct, but they lack of feeling, and this really conveys a natural driving feeling. It's so cool. And here at slow speeds, I really feel the rear axle steering so much, so it fakes a shorter wheelbase, so to speak, and it feels so much more agile, especially when driving at slower speeds. This will help you so much when driving in the city, when parking in and out, easing in and out of a basement garage, and so on. So I think a very important feature for this long vehicle. And if it's not standard in a version you might have, then I would definitely go for this option. Always very good to have it. So right here, once again, with a nice grip also at the Alcantara steering wheel. And this car is not only fun on the racetrack, and it's really cool to do that. Oh, watch out. Thank you. So, but it's also just nice to relax in it, that's the thing about it. Just going a long way, have comfort by the seats. An SUV will have more upright seating position if you compare a Cayenne, for example, but this one here also with fairly comfortable seats, definitely. And you feel somehow both in this vehicle. You feel like you could drive it as a sports vehicle, but you could also feel that it would be a luxury sedan, and it is indeed both. That's what this car is about. One interesting gauge is the all-wheel drive distribution. So in most cases you have rear-wheel drive like almost only, and the more I put pressure on the throttle, the more power will also be sent to the front wheels right there. I have everything in my line of sight here with a head-up display, so it's the most thing I'm watching that, for example, for the speed. But the analog meter is so sexy that I tend to take a look at that also from time to time. And how the GPS is routing us also quite well done. You see it on the big screen. I see the arrows then, for example, in the head-up display. and I can also put the GPS then here on this right display, so this is also possible then. And usually in front of the next intersection it should also switch then in this gauge. If it, let's see if it does that now. Usually it does, but probably there's an option in the infotainment system where I can also disable that. So in this case it doesn't do it. I'm pretty sure it, usually it did that, so you can switch it around. And when you're here, for example, just in normal driving mode, it is not a hard acceleration, and I'm just slightly on the pedal, very smooth, and this is already again 100 kilometers an hour, and this car kept so calm and collected and so on. And this is also the thing about this massive power. You don't have it that you always use it to the very max. You also have the high or big displacement that you can say you drive this car in a very sovereign way. You sometimes maybe even drive it slowly, but just you have this power in the back of your mind, and when you want to accelerate a little bit more out, you don't have to wait for much shifting down. Here, for example, around 100 kilometers, around 60 miles an hour, and in the 7th or even 8th gear, but then slightly on throttle and directly shifting more like 1 or 2 gears back, but without this, annoying jump or something. So in a very, very smooth transition. At the same time, you can always use the shifting pedals. It's also fun to use. They give you a nice, crisp feedback. You can shift down yourself, and then you also have a more spontaneous acceleration. Sound-wise, I think, they try to find a balance now between the new filter technologies and still nice exhaust sound, so they really paid attention to that. And of course it might be the case that earlier cars sound more extreme, but I think they could bring back this life to the car a little bit, in this case. You should check out the Turbo SE Hybrid review we once did in Vancouver, on Vancouver Island. That was like, sound-wise, like, what's going on there? It's like is there a space rocket or something launching? Very interesting review that was as well. Assistance systems have been upgraded, so everything you could do, like software-wise, you can always update with the facelift. So we have the adaptive cruise control here, for example, and we can set that. There's the blind spot monitor, which will appear then here in the side mirror when we have a car behind us, for example, at the motorway or stretch limo. Our limo is better, right? Yeah, but probably also more expensive than this one. Maybe like 4 times the price or something like that. And of course, you can always go to the sports mode, even just normal driving here, city, then transition to countryside, and blurb, that's 100 once again. Nice sound, and just this pressure you can apply there, and it's really like you have some kind of a linear transition feeling between putting down the throttle and the car is going forward. It's like the way the throttle is being put forward, you feel that the car is moving forward. I hope you somehow get what I'm describing. There's no delay whatsoever in what's happening, and this actually can otherwise only be achieved with electric vehicles. Yes, that's of course the thing, that you need such a strong combustion engine to achieve that feeling of a rather linear power output of an electric engine, electric motor, we have to say then. So the only thing that would come close to it is probably then the Taycan, indeed. In the sports mode, suspension is then a little bit stiffer also, but yet again, you don't feel that it would be, too stiff or something. The roads are very good here, however, at the moment. In the sports mode, you feel that the reaction is a little bit closer to the road, definitely. But still, I think the compromise they found with this car is very good. The PDCC upgrade with the anti-roll control also works very well, no matter what you do, like here slalom-wise or so. The car remains upright, like in Germany we say sometimes like, liegt wie ein Brett auf der Straße. That was Germanish, right? So that's, our German viewers know what I mean. That's more like, when you put like a log or a bar of wood on the road and just move it, That's how, but not in a negative way, because that sounds uncomfortable. But it's like that with being comfortable at the very same time. And that's the thing about this vehicle. So About the different drivetrains, this one here is of course the most powerful combustion engine. The GTS will have the same engine but with a little bit different horsepower tune. So this will also come close. What they did with the GTS setup, power curve wise, by the way, is very interesting, because back in the days the GTS models used to be naturally aspirated and therefore had like this power curve that gave you the most power at higher RPMs, like 4000 RPM plus. They now took the same engine here, which is twin turbo or bi-turbo, and then applied this kind of naturally aspirated engine power curve to the GTS model. So this one here, the Turbo S, will drive more like a turbo, and the GTS, although being a turbo, will more drive like a naturally aspirated engine. I think quite interesting engineering piece, and you know, why not setting it up in that way. And then as for the plug-in hybrid model, it really fits to the Panamera. The new plug-in hybrid will also feature a new 18 kWh battery with about 50 kilometers or 30 miles of pure electric range. So upgraded battery, upgraded pure electric range, and also performance. So this can be a good choice when you have like some taxation benefits, for example, or also you want to drive locally emission-free. More and more customers decide to go for the hybrid model, and since this is here also a sedan which can be moved in a calm executive way, the pure electric driving really fits to the Panamera. Yet at the same time you have a lot of performance with the plug-in hybrid models. So if this one here is too expensive for you, which will be the most case, will be the case in most cases, you can easily go for one of the hybrids and have the hybrids. Actually, the plug-in hybrid has the best price-performance ratio overall. So this could be a thing. Or then again, probably I would go for the GTS due to to have even more some Alcantara on the seats, and you still got the same V8 engine you have then here. As for the fuel economy, yeah, that's of course all the thing about this engine. This could also be about the hybrid, because we experience it in the plug-in hybrid models that even when you have the battery depleted, the recuperation system in the Panamera is awesome. So even if the battery is depleted, it will bring down the fuel consumption, because you have still some electric moments, still gain back some energy, and where you can score, I think it's sometimes like some 7 liters on 100 kilometers. So really decent MPG figures as well in the hybrids. But here then, yeah, interesting by the way, when suddenly a corner gets a little bit more narrow than you would have expected. I mean, being in a big car, a big sedan, sounded to you like a surprise, but here, I hardly have to grab around the steering wheel. What awesome steering feeling this car has. Once again, from all cars, this one here now with the update, what a road is that? Right? Nice curvy roads, but that's also a great view now. So one of the best steerings ever now, definitely so much fun. So when you have a straight line, you just have to go slalom again. Yeah, and back to the fuel economy. So here at the moment, this was a trip with some acceleration, but I also took it rather slowly as well. Then we went a little bit uphill. Now we go a little bit downhill. But here with the Turbo S, even if you keep it really, really slowly and steady and so on, 2-digit liter figures on 100 kilometers are, you always have to count with that. So with some like 12-13 liters at least. So that's one of the downsides here, definitely. So the hybrid will be way more efficient. Again, as I said, even if you don't recharge that frequently, of course the PF makes more sense when you recharge frequently. So that's about different, engine orientation and so on, and also the base engine will also be just fine for the Panamera, of course. We took this model here because it had the biggest change in the model lineup, horsepower-wise. And at first I really thought that, they're replacing the top hybrid model once again with the pure ICE. That's not the case. The Turbo S e-hybrid will follow once again after that here. So when you watch this video, maybe after the release, at the later stage, like a year later or 2 years later, then probably the new model will already be out there for you, and we maybe already have the review, but at the recording of this video we don't have it yet. Here once again, just sport mode here for some intersection, but of course here in the town we want to keep it a little bit more calm, so you can also play with this special exhaust valve. Once again, it's really always a pleasure to drive with the Panamera, and since steering feeling is so important to me personally, I think I really have something from this facelift that this one was even a little bit tuned. It was good before, no doubt about that, but even better now, and of course, especially in combination with the microfiber, with the Alcantara steering wheel, even more fun. What was that? The Porsche 911 GT3 Touring in this 992 generation. What exactly is it? The 911 GT3 is the lightweight version of the model lineup. For example, CFRP hood, also lightweight windows and so on. So many different measures and 200 kilograms or 400 pounds of weight savings ready to race then. The GT3 Touring is then again taking a little bit off of the super aggressive look. For example, we have a lower bumper in vehicle color, and there's also no fixed big rear wing. So the 911 GT3 Touring is still as ready to race as the normal GT3, but a little bit more subtle, so the race car in disguise. Well, but it of course does still have a very sporty look after all. Look at that lower area here in the smash grille, and also here this special hood with these air outtakes. By the way, here in the front you can see it really has coolers in the front behind it. Lamps LED, or optional here the matrix LED, an interesting daytime running light 4-dot structure. And you'll find the hazard lights or turning indicators in the lower area each. And hazard lights or the turning indicators in the rear look also quite fancy, don't they? What a side profile. The 911 has always been about that, 4 meters 57 or 180 inches. And here for the GT3 we have 20-inch wheels in the front, forged wheels. And look at that here also, how they are tightened. This awesome work, bigger brakes, and also in the rear then 21-inch, so a little bit bigger, and how massive they are. Of course, a typical 911 shoulder. Gentian blue is the color for today, a very nice Thomas blue. Yeah, I mean, Thomas blue is rather some brighter blue colors. This one is not the darkest blue color, but I would always say it counts as Thomas blue, right? So Enzian, it would, by the way, be the German name for it. Such a beautiful side profile with the 911, and the chrome contrast works very well here also with the 911 GT3 Touring. So once again, you see, from the side profile you could say, yeah, maybe that's a normal 911, but I can tell you in the driving part, this is something out of this world. Look forward to that. Wow, look at that 3/4 rear perspective, so massive. Light strip all the way across the vehicle. Then lower part, centralized 2-pipe sport lightweight exhaust. Diffuser huge, and this vehicle really sucks itself onto the ground on the racetrack. GT3 Touring badge. That's the main difference here now. Not the fixed wing with the manual control like in the normal GT3 we've shown you in the studio, for example. This one here has the foldable wing and has a more elegant appearance. But is it a 911 for posing? No, it is not. This here, the GT3, is a 911 for races. I will show you in the driving part. And top speed, 320 kilometers an hour or 200 miles an hour, and to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, 3.4 and 3.2 seconds, so 3.4 to the kilometer figure and 3.2 to the miles figure. Massive performance from this 4-liter flat engine, 6-cylinder, 510 horsepower, naturally aspirated. Of course, it has a different sound, way different sound than the normal turbocharged ones. I love that. It has a more natural experience while accelerating. So really looking so much forward to drive this one here now. Well, this service opening is the only thing we have to have somewhat of a glimpse of the technology here. 4-liter assess here just for the fluids and so on. Servicing is done from underneath. This is the car key. Open the front hood with that one. And here, when you open the vehicle, you can see here the door handles fold out, just like in any other 911 model. The haptical feeling here of this one is not too good, I have to say, and door closing sound. yeah, okay, but nothing special. Then inside of the doors we have a special structured material right here. That's interesting. It's also been found here throughout the hood in the front. GT3 entry badge right there. And look at that, special bucket seats, but they are actually optional. You start with normal sport seats, and there, yeah, you can go with these then when you really want to go to the racetrack, which you should in this vehicle. And here on the inside we have fabric, both available for the normal sport seat and also here for the bucket seat. Of course, way to go to have the sportiest and most breathable material. Interior overview, not too much screaming out, sporty orientation, and there are really some very nice and unique features here for the 911 GT3. We also still have a manual AC unit, but yeah, it's hard to reach it actually. So we know in the normal 911 there is this brown shaver automatic shifting lever, and then you can easily reach them because it's just shorter. On the other hand, it's cool to have a proper shifting lever, and even if you have the automatic transmission, it looks kind of manual, although it's the dual clutch. So yeah, it's also a very cool feature, isn't it? Small and sporty steering wheel with control buttons here. Left side for the volume, and right side, for example, picking up the phone, also to control something of these digital instruments. You have here analog in the middle part with the classic rev meter, but then digital parts on the outside. Let's take a look at that. Here we go, left and right. You can actually adjust what you want to see then there. Here on the right side, also for example visualization for the driving mode. But there's also a special track screen available for the 911 GT3. And that then, for example, shows the temperatures and so on. So yeah, you can use it. Of course, you don't have to. But in this track screen, you will also have, you know, special gauges for, you know, the shifting process and so on. Here, this function is very important. The lift function, you will need this, because if you don't use it, a normal basement garage or a normal hump on the road or something is damaging the lower body. And then here, suspension settings, you can make it stiffer also right here. And really these buttons are nicely knurled here with metal and also give a nice clicking sound and so on. I really like these. Oh, and I like this brushed style here as the deco element. What a racy seating position here, and steering wheel up and down, in and out, great position to find here, really racy. You can put these bucket seats actually up electronically like this. So if you're a little bit, you know, smaller than me, so this also might fit. Usually tall people put it all the way down, and with 1m86, 6'1", still enough headroom left. And you know, the angle is quite steep and it stays fixed like this, but it's totally fine. It's supposed to be like that for shoulder support, and also that you can apply, you know, pressure on the brake and really have something against your back. A lot of people drive, you know, with the back part of the seat all the way back. Yeah, and that's actually not that safe for driving then. So this is the, you know, more professional seating position. These bucket seats here are, of course, not that comfortable long term. There are also the normal sport seats available. They're also available with fabric. When you go for the fabric inside, it will be more comfortable in either case. If the bucket seats or the normal seats are better for you, depends on racetrack or not. And of course also sometimes the sport air seats can be more comfortable, but it really depends from person to person. It's really hard. But of course we have to bear in mind, this is a racetrack ready vehicle. It will not give you the best comfort. Analog lock with some titanium, it's of course quite fancy, and yeah, one of the characteristics always of a 911. An infotainment system, here for example GPS view, could be a little bit more responsive for sure. This is the 6.0 system, so it also features now Android Auto. Here I have a smartphone with, you know, iPhone X style, so this is then the Apple CarPlay integration. And the sound is, let's say, rather somewhat basic. It doesn't have the most sophisticated sound system here, but yeah, it's still somewhat okay. And the Apple CarPlay integration looks like this, using all the way off the screen. And of course you have here some more features here, for example, right there. Here, and there we go. When I change the driving modes, also the characteristics of the spoiler and so on, or the sports exhaust system, they change. And here underneath the armrest you have the charging ports here. Two USB-C connectors are hidden underneath here, and yeah, you see I stored everything in here also with the key and stuff. Yeah, and then it's, you know, you can put it down, but it falls down automatically half, so not the best storage solution. By the way, you can exchange this one here with a real cup holder, so this is possible. At the moment it's right here in the glove box. So look at that. So this is then a proper cup holder indeed. I would prefer this one definitely, because the other one then for the passenger side is right here. And for the rear you do not have a bench, but just some additional storage area. But yeah, storage area. You shouldn't put things in there that can fly around and hit you, because if you drive really agile, you better be careful. And how could it be different here in the front? Yeah, it has a frunk, although it's not an electric vehicle. That's rare nowadays. But it easily can also house here a cabin trolley, so that works very well. Have you heard that? You hear the stones in the wheel arches, special all to GT3. Welcome to Thomas's Performance Driving Lounge today. Porsche 911 GT3 Touring. Yeah, you should better activate the horn right now, because hell is going to break loose. So we start from 30 kilometers an hour in the track mode, and let's see how fast it goes. Let's go. That was 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Of course, I won't overtake these fellows in here, but maybe that's the very right, you know. Whoa! Oh my goodness! Have you heard that? So the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers an hour at 3.4 seconds to 60 miles an hour at 3.2 seconds. Whew. Yeah, with this dual clutch transmission here, you're a half second faster, because everything is just working way better. It just works better than you would do it your own. Oh, they're getting off, so I can speed it up now again. Oh my god! It was like a 100 to 200 sprint. Holy freaking show. I need to turn up the AC first. It's like, oh my goodness. Wow. I mean, if you ask yourself or me, how different is this one from a normal 911? It feels like a completely different vehicle. Really. I mean, of course it's the same base vehicle, but this double wishbone front axle, look at that. I mean, this is so crazy. It's not a small sports car, you know, but it drives like a go-kart. How precise it is from the front axle is absolutely amazing. I often say, for sporty driving, rather get a 718 than a 911, because it just feels sportier, midship engine concept and so on. But this one here now, with the GT3 trim and the special front axle, is just absolutely insane, and really catches up to smaller sports cars as for the driving and handling. But at the same time, we have this 510 horsepower there from that naturally aspirated 4-liter 6-cylinder flat engine. Wow. This is really getting your blood pumping. It's incredible, especially in the track mode. You maybe realize that, like, the red line is at 9,000 revs and 8,400 is the maximum power. Wow. And by the way, if you put it to normal mode, then shifts up, keeps it a little bit calmer. In general, this is, far away from calm. Have you seen that? It's absolutely insane how this car, except the steering commands, this is a real track vehicle. It's a race car. You are allowed also to drive on the road, and probably you'll be faster than some of the non-legal race cars with this one here. Yeah, if you have almost $200,000 or 200,000 euros to spend. You hear so much more in this car from everything around you, like the small stones in the wheel arches, for example. There's less sound dampening, so you hear more of the engine, but also more from everything. Yeah, and of course suspension. You do lose comfort in everyday driving life, but then again, you get this. Oh. Lane change now, higher speed. It's like a Nürburgring Nordschleife right here. A little bit careful with these other racing participants here. Okay, here we go. Oh my goodness. This is something out of this world, really. And the precision here at higher speeds, I mean, higher speeds feel like nothing for this vehicle. I can't get over how precise this one is steering and how well it handles. It is night and day from a normal 911, and I mean a normal 911 handles very well. Yes, we all know that, but this is something completely different. And look at that, and the steering is so agile and precise. At the same time, it doesn't feel too unnatural, and that is so astonishing. I mean, once again, here's slalom. That's 80 kilometers an hour, and I can't get over it. It's really hard for you to explain, to feel that, because you don't feel the G-force sitting in this vehicle. And when I compare it to other normal vehicles, this isn't even a comparison. So, I mean, I've driven so many sporty vehicles in my life already now, and I really wouldn't have thought that something still astonishes me that much. This is absolutely crazy, this car. So, yeah, that was motorway, Autobahn, but we still have our agile driving up the hill to come. This will also be super, super interesting. But I can tell you, if you want to go for this one here just for the looks and say like, hey guys, look at that, I have a GT3, don't do it. Do not buy this car. Go for this one if you are using it on the racetrack, period. And why? I'll show you once more right now. But before we get to that, we need the tunnel, right? What was that? Oh, what was that? You gotta rewind this. I mean, what kind of sound was that? Can't even, what the hell? Oh. So, after driving this car, you probably need to see your cardiologist. You need to check your hearing, and you also need to see the physiotherapist, because every physiotherapist in your local surrounding will love these bucket seats and this suspension, because they have a lot of jobs to do then for lower back pain. And now, driving up the hill, Autogefühl's peak, and I also use the manual shifting now. You can also stay in the second gear, of course. Yes, a little bit wet of the road, rear end getting a little bit loose. And this naturally aspirated engine is so cool because it doesn't have this, turbo kicking in. The acceleration is much more linear and therefore feels more natural to me. So here, for example, going back to a normal mode, where there's a building here, we want to be a little bit more silent with respect to the inhabitants here. And then we're passing this house, and I turn it up in the sportier modes again. But I really like the NA engine. Definitely feels so much more connected than the turbo, and also calmer than in the lower areas in a way, because the real power is unleashed then in the high RPM and areas, definitely. And look at that, how precise it is in the corners. That feels so cool. This is also something from the sound, not definitely different. Yeah, this has a proper sound now, and usually, I mean, the other 911s, you know, they are not that good as for the sound, definitely, but this one is really cool. Now hairpin corner. Yes. Just awesome. What a flawless sporty driving experience. 4 liter of displacement, 6 cylinders, naturally aspirated engine, manual gearbox. We're going old school today on Autogefühl with a new car. Because so far Porsche has reserved this setup for the GT4 and the Spider, but now 718 Boxster and 718 Cayman come as GTS 4.0 here with this special setup. All about this one, an exterior, interior and the driving experience off the racetrack and on the racetrack with the Cayman, also with our special guest Mark Webber here today, and everything of that, Thomas and Jonas behind the camera in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! So we had several versions of the Boxster and the Cayman so far. We also linked them in the video description and the pinned comment, so later after this review you can enjoy even more. Here the headlamps come with xenon as standard and optional LED in general for the Boxster and the Cayman, and the GTS models have the black contrast right there and a bigger opening. They have overall the sportier scheme and of course a lot of black elements on the outside. And here we can again see the direct difference between the xenon lights. You just have the 4 LED daytime running lights around, but the main headlamp unit here is the xenon. Optionally also available with the dynamic light function. And then the full LED lamps, optional. They are also available with the dynamic LED function, so both optionally available with dynamic lighting. And here you can see LED daytime running light a little bit bigger and wider, also 4-dot structure. But then the main headlamp unit here is also full LED. So here again, the full LED unit and the base xenon unit. Well, I mean, so many options already on this car and it's so expensive. But then again, another option that is missing. So many things optional, even still in the GTS trim. 4m38, 14'4" or 172 inches is the length of the Boxster or the Cayman. The only difference, of course, Boxster and Cayman is the roof. So everything we'll tell you today will basically count for both vehicles. Besides, here you can, of course, close the roof, and it's I can't move too far away with the key. I just want to give you a better view. I have to stay close to the car, obviously for safety reasons, that I'm not like closing it from hundreds of meters away and then maybe someone is getting his hands in there or something. So that's how the car, just giving you a free look, how it looks like with the closed top, and pretty muscular, especially with these 20-inch wheels. So usually the GTS 4.0 setup is black 20-inch wheels. Here, in this vehicle, there's a different option, just another wheel style, how it looks like with non-black wheels. But black wheels would be the typical GTS style. But I mean, it's just a matter of preference, which one you like better. You see the yellow brake calipers here, by the way. These are the special ceramic brakes, so you can go for them, but they are very, very expensive. And of course, this one is already more expensive. It's a couple of €1,000 less expensive than the Spider. Same counts also for the Cayman versus GT4. But it's also a couple of €1,000 more expensive than the normal 4-cylinder GTS, so it's exactly in between. The cool thing is, of course, easy and clean design lines. That's what's making the car still beautiful. The big air intake for the midship engine concept. As you might remember, or maybe don't know, the 911 has a rear engine concept. This one here, midship engine concept, because the engine sits right below that.
both in the front and in the rear with the GTS models. In general, you have the black tinted background here, so front and rear lights. It's making a more aggressive look. Also have the black spoiler right there, both for the 718 Boxster GTS and the 718 Cayman GTS. And the 4.0 models have a special exhaust system. Of course, there's, a little more fume coming out. So they also split it a little bit more open. So usually it's centralized, but here it's left and right. So a little bit more space in between. Again, this is a more, bigger stance look even from this exhaust port here. And suspension-wise, talking by the way, also interesting, the GTS 4.0 models, they come with the PASM as standard. Also with the other GTS models the same. This is the Porsche adaptive suspension. In this case here, you can pick also either 20 millimeters lower or 10 millimeters lower. So depending on, how aggressive sporty you want to have it. Let's do some engine talk. In the previous generation, it was still all about the 6-cylinder naturally aspirated engines, but in this current generation here, they moved more towards the 4-cylinder concept. And you can understand it somehow because of the CO2 fleet emissions, yes, but also this is supposed to be a lightweight car. And somehow it also makes sense. So usually you get a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, a flat turbo, either with 300 horsepower then in the base version or in the Boxster T, this lightweight model. Then there is the S model, which already comes with the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder flat turbo, then with 350 horsepower. Same engine goes to the 4-cylinder GTS with 365 horsepower, the fastest model with 4.1 seconds in the acceleration figure. And then the recent GT4 and the Spider, actually at 4.4 seconds, and this then here 4.5 seconds. 400 horsepower for this 6-cylinder 4-liter of displacement, 420 horsepower it would be for the GT4 and the Spider, and the acceleration figures is 0.1 seconds, so that's really nothing. But indeed, there is a big difference here from this 6-cylinder GTS to the 4-cylinder GTS.
But what's the reason for that? It's indeed this, the manual gearbox. It's not the weight difference, 6-cylinder and 4-cylinder is just 30 kilograms, so it's nothing significantly. It's just the manual gearbox. So when this one will come with the dual clutch transmission, the 6-cylinder GTS will be faster than the 4-cylinder GTS. At the moment, it's the way that manual gearbox comparing 4-cylinder GTS manual gearbox versus 6-cylinder GTS manual gearbox. This one here, the bigger one, is 0.1 seconds faster. So it's just slower overall because it was the comparison manual gearbox versus the PDK. Again, PDK versus PDK, then the more powerful engine will also win because it's not significantly heavier.
What about the interior? Of course, with the convertible we can look a little bit better. It's easier to take a look at it. Inside of the doors, or with the GTS scheme, Alcantara and red contour stitching, fitting to the carmine red exterior color. Then the carbon fiber inlet right here. And this classic sporty look, Alcantara steering wheel here in the GTS package. So it's both the same for the 4-cylinder and the 6-cylinder GTS. Really cool, the steering wheel and the drive mode selector is right there. Right side to control the digital instruments. There's just one part of digital from the instruments. And the left side then for the volume control. And you can already see there's the big analog red GTS RPM meter. Left side then for the speed, and the right side is then digital. You can, for example, also put a GPS view in there. That's of course coming quite handy. As for the seats, GTS is always with Alcantara this microfiber surface. The middle part is animal free. Sadly, they do use animal parts on the exterior of the seat, like here, which is not necessary. No one would actually feel or know the difference if it would be leatherette. They are also for
the Boxster or the Cayman in general, those sport tech seats available, which is fabric, probably even cooler in summer. But then when you order, the animal skin-free seats, then you get additional leather parts somewhere else. So it's not really logical. But it's already, moving in a good direction. This is here the bucket seat, definitely a sportier version. So you can flip it actually, like this. There's carbon fiber at the back part. It's a lightweight part, and I'm not sure if you want to store something there, but you can only flip it. You cannot adjust the back part. It will always stay upright, but it's in a good upright position because you need to sit upright anyway. And most people, when they're sitting in the car, they're sitting not upright enough. But again, this is an option, this bucket seat. Usually it would come with a sport seat already, with the GTS sport seat, but also then with the Alcantara setup. And indeed, having it also on the steering wheel and on the seat is good because you slide less, especially when you are, for example, on a racetrack or in the corner or something. Bucket seat here has a little bit more support here and there. Which seat is the best for you? It really depends on the body posture. The thing is, it's such a great driving machine, no matter in which version I've been driving the 718, but I could never find a proper seat where I would say it would be long-term suitable. That's, for example, better in the BMW Z4. And yes, folks at BMW also said probably that they had the 6-cylinder BMW Z4 new generation. Maybe it was also an influence that Porsche went back here now with the 6-cylinders, also in the 718. Yeah, that's how it sometimes goes on the market, a little bit back and forth. So we'll see later on the driving part how it goes like with the seating comfort here in these bucket seats. Usually more standard seats are a little bit more open in the driving position and so on. And I'm on this 86 or 6.1, and indeed it still does fit even when I close the roof. So I can do it here right now, and you can see it again in live time how long it takes. It doesn't take that long, and the soft top is of course pretty cool and so easy. Oh, attention, the window goes up when you keep holding it, of course. So in here I still have even enough headroom when the roof is closed, and at very high speeds the Cayman will be more silent on the interior, maybe like 120, 130 kilometers, or like 70, 80 miles plus. Then the soft top will be a little bit noisier than the closed Cayman. Other than that, for most other speeds, these are so well insulated nowadays that you don't feel so much difference. Also, normal road driving, I can already tell you, on the racetrack, as a professional driver, you feel that Cayman is more stiff, from the body. But normally driving, it's more the question, do you want that open top or not? And I always say, hell yes, I do. So, seat, I can just move then front and back, and the steering wheel up and down. In this case here, the manual part. Here we go. And by the way, if you're interested in the comparison, 718 versus 911, we also have a video of that. We'll also link that, so tune into this video also later, please. So here's the interior, which is still somewhat old school, of course. It's not the newest car, but it does the job, definitely. These vents here, they have been rearranged with the recent facelift a couple of years ago. Sports chrono package also includes this analog clock then, and also puts down the acceleration time. Then you have this integration of the infotainment system with Apple CarPlay right here. And you can go back to the Porsche menu like this. There's also the GPS right there. The map here, you can zoom in and out. Does the job actually quite good and easy, the system, and still with a lot of real hotkeys. All the climate unit can be accessed really, but quite small also reaches then while driving, seat heating, and ta-da! Here it is, the manual gearbox, 6-speed, and you hear how crisp it is when you put in the gears or just when the car is stationary. So pretty amazing. Let's find out about the gear ratios, because it has been criticized with the GT4 and the Spider review here and there, maybe like too long second gear. I'm looking forward to test it very soon. And now, very important information. It will later also come, or maybe if you watch the review at a later stage, it's already there, with the dual clutch transmission with the Porsche, with the PDK. So this will be then a possibility also for the GT4 and the Spider, but so far for manual shifting enthusiasts, but later on also then with the automatic gearbox as you know it. Then later on, lower down here, you can actually activate the wing and the exhaust node separately. The PASM can put the suspension a little bit stiffer. Here in this case for the convertible, open the top. Now close it. Some space, I mean, do we want to really smoke in the 718? I'm not sure. And then there's this nice Alcantara cover here for the armrest, where you connect your smartphone with just one USB device, and that's basically it. Well, about storage, this is a problem with the car. So the glove box is almost nothing, but hey, there's a USB device, an additional for charging. And cup holders are right here, and they are, yeah, a little bit strange, have always been. Especially when cornering pretty fastly with, you know, something with a glass bottle in there, not too good actually. And in the side you have a very slim box, and then an additional one which you can open, and then maybe for sunglasses or something. But yeah, space is indeed very limited here. Well, you don't have too much space in the cabin, but actually 718 Boxster, and even more so the 718 Cayman, they have two trunks, so the frunk and the normal trunk, and this is actually quite versatile. I mean, you can even put cabin trolleys in like this. This even works and will close. So this is the height of, in the front, about 47 centimeters, and in the rear even a little bit more, a little bit less than 60. And the width here is about about 70 centimeters. So it's actually quite cool. And the last here 46. So you can get along with that actually pretty well already in the front. Well, either from the inside, left next to you when you're sitting on the driver's seat, or then again on the key, you can open also the rear trunk. Here we go. And this is, let's say, a little bit easier as for the accessibility, because you do not have to open this second stage of that. And it does work to put a backpack in like this when you squeeze it just a little bit. You know, this is maybe not the best solution. Maybe then like this or something. Put it like this, and this already works then, and it closes. Let's open it once again, and you see here, this is then the easier solution because it goes just a little bit faster. And as for the measurements here, the height in the rear is about 33 centimeters, in the front 25, and the width, it's actually quite notable. So this in the front then about 80 centimeters, but down there this is even wider, you know, and also up there. So this is even more than a meter. So down there if you use the holes. So again, for two people and luggage, so camera equipment and so on, we didn't have any problems. And a direct seating comparison. Here you can see the sport seats of the GTS. This is not even the base seat from the Boxster itself, but already the GTS sport seat. And you can see the Alcantara on the middle part, and they're a little bit wider if you compare to the bucket seats. And both seats actually can be flipped. And then you also have this hanger here on the top part, so you can maybe, if you move it a little bit to the front, put a jacket or something up there, or maybe like a slim bag behind the seat or something. And taking a test seat right here. So in comparison to the bucket seat, these here are a little bit more open, so you can move around a little bit more freely. And to me also then the most comfortable you can get for the GTS versions. I would really stick with the base setup you get directly from the GTS. So, and steering wheel is of course the same. So in comparison here, it feels, you know, really like open, freely to move around. Of course, in comparison to non-sporty seat, you already, you know, got a lot of shoulder support and so on. And then let's move over. So this is bucket seat number 1. Very interesting. 2,500 euros or 2,700 extra. You can flip them, yes, but there's no hanger behind, maybe to put the bag or something. But actually they are flippables here because they are taken from the Porsche 911. Same available in the 911. Pretty interesting. They do feature carbon fiber already, so they are actually already lighter a little bit. but also more expensive. And I mean, considering for bucket seats, they are still somewhat comfortable. Again, comfortable for the 718, not comfortable overall automotive industry. You have more shoulder support right here, and that also takes a little bit of weight off the lower back. That could be an advantage. So I think it depends also on the, on the body posture, if this or the base seat will be more comfortable. From sitting in here just like a couple of seconds, then you would think the more open seat is more comfortable. Longer run, it really depends on your body, which will be better than, So just have to take a test ride yourself, I guess. But it can never be, bad to go with base seats actually, because then also save the money. And last but not least, here the bucket seat number 2. And this is, I think, over 5,000 euros extra. So again, even more expensive than the bucket seat number 1. And they cannot be flipped. They are even slimmer. They are almost all full out of carbon fiber. That's also why they're so expensive. And you see they're also deeper and slimmer. So you really, almost sink in them. And yeah, they are really uncomfortable. So, the other decision might depend on your body, and you can argue with the better shoulder support, but they are that slim. So to me, they give less support than the other bucket seat. And for my height, I really touch the carbon fiber part here, so where it's not bolstered. So I really feel, like touching now, like the direct plastic part or the carbon fiber here. So that's really, not recommendable at all. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge. Open top here with a 718 Boxster GTS 4.0. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We put it in sports mode to have some more throttle input and exhaust sound, and enjoy something of this manual gearbox here as well. And since they have a pretty long gearing in the second gear, most of the time you just keep it in second gear, and that's basically it. In city and so on, it wasn't too negative, so it was actually quite okay. And the thing is here with the naturally aspirated engine, you don't drive it that low revving and use a turbo or something. You rather put it to higher RPMs and really use these RPMs then, and keep it, for example, in a lower gear. That's how it works. Of course, you can also shift up if you like. And the crisp shifting is really a lot of fun. I'm a fan of automatic gearboxes because they're just more comfortable in everyday driving life. But sometimes, in a car like this, or in a Mazda MX-5, for example, this can actually be a lot of fun. And, well, you don't need to shift that often. And cruising here at about 70 kilometers an hour, you can keep it rather silent also, for example in the third gear, or if you want to attack it a little bit more, put back to the second one. And you maybe heard it, when we are here in the sport mode and we shift back, there's an automatic dual clutch. Would be German Zwischengas, the famous German Zwischengas. That's like the direct translation is like, throttle in between, so to say. Here again. So the car is doing that for you, to match the revs then to get better in the next gear and have a better performance. But yeah, if it makes such a difference for everyday driving life is of course doubtful. It's more than a fun feature in this case, when you're just driving on the street. Or for example, let's say from second to fourth gear, it's a little bit, but of course the bigger effect is neat when you put it from third into second gear. And a lot of fun here, driving open top, precise steering, great grip with the microfiber steering wheel, and suspension is actually not too uncomfortable because it is an adaptive one. Yes, it's low definitely, and the GTS is sporty, but it's still somehow adapting to the road surfaces, and it's just so much fun. It's a pure driving machine, this car. Really very, very cool. And it is one of the cars that has the best handling, the best neutral, centrally balanced handling because of the midship engine concept. And it's really way more fun than driving a 911. We also had it in our comparison. and also easier to drive. Definitely the weight balance is just way better. So this is actually here still a true Porsche, and of course, especially with the naturally aspirated engine concept and the manual gearbox, this is, let's say, together I would say really with the Boxster T, even though it's a 4-cylinder with the rate reductions and so on. That's how, you know, Porsche was originally like, you know. So here, for example, when going uphill, second gear, rev matching, giving it a little bit more on the go. And I mean, you sometimes would think, oh, there's no turbo or something, so there's not that spontaneous acceleration. No, not really. So this 4-liter engine has so much horsepower that you still get so much direct throttle input. You really don't need the turbo. You have enough horsepower for that, even if you are in the low revs. No problem. Wow, this is really amazing. Now you can keep it in the second gear. Of course, we'll soon see more about real high speed than when we are on the racetrack with the Cayman. This is here, of course, a little bit, you know, performance enjoyment with keeping it according to traffic laws. Later on, then hitting it really on the racetrack. But this is here already so much fun, and probably what I would do most with this vehicle. Really very cool. I can keep it in second gear all the time if I like to. Very precise in the corner. Wow, really cool. And this would probably also the reason why I would go for the 6-cylinder, to have this sound, because oh, there's a tuned Miata. I mean, whoa, the hell. I mean, the 4-cylinder is really cool. The weight difference is not that much, and it's totally fine with this vehicle. This 6-cylinder is really more about the sound, and I have to say, the naturally aspirated engine just has a more linear power output, so it feels, in a way, it says naturally aspirated, and it feels in a way more natural because of how the power is being delivered. You know, with those turbos, you maybe wait just a brief second, and then the power sets in a little bit more spontaneously after this half a second. But here it's more linear, this power output, and this somehow feels more human, you know, if you can talk about that with the machine. And wow, look at that, this slalom characteristics. I mean, that's no matter which engine you have with the 718, it's just awesome. So again, there's hardly any other car that has this perfect handling, this perfect balance handling. This is really amazing. And suspension wise, I don't feel it's here in the GTS version less comfortable than in one of the others. That's also totally fine. This bucket seat so far is also holding up quite well. Not because it would be super comfortable, but rather because the other seats are also uncomfortable. So yeah, that's the thing with this car. It's not the most comfortable one, yes, but so far I'm actually, you know, I'm quite happy. Of course, I didn't like floor it out so much here. Before this area started, he had about 12 liters and 1 kilometers fuel economy, about 20 mpg something. So again, can't expect wonders of that. It depends on, the naturally aspirated engine do not have to be more fuel consuming than the smaller turbos. It really depends on how you drive it and, you know, situation, if you use cruise control and so on. You can put it even in 4th gear, and then it's actually even silent in the sport mode. It's really interesting. Here, by the way, when you shift in the normal mode, 3rd to 2nd, there's no dual clutching. Then again, when you are in the sports mode, 3rd to 2nd, there it is. And it's good that you can hear it actually because we have this open top, really cool. I can keep the same speed up here all the time, the allowed speed, great cornering, enjoying the landscape here together with us. This is what we could call Autogefühl. Autogefühl direct translation is car feeling, or the feeling or enjoyment of driving a car. And yeah, that's why, whoa, yeah. Those situations are where our motorcyclist friends, and I'm motorbike driver myself, where you could cut the head off. So that's driving a convertible is, and especially in the sporting convertible, is probably the thing that gets closest to driving a bike, a motorbike, if you want so. So if you want to be a little bit safer, then maybe go for a car like this. You're a little bit wet still, the road, but overall good grip conditions we have. And this is something I could do all day, definitely. So how would I rate it now, the 4-cylinder versus the 6-cylinder? On the one hand, you can score some great acceleration if you really rev it up, which we will do on the racetrack. On the other hand, I feel that you rather drive a little more settled with this one, because the turbo is, in comparison to this one, let's say a little bit more nervous. So this one also feels a little bit more elaborate, I would say. And of course, with the more sonorous sound, that's definitely a cool thing. So in this respect, I would maybe prefer the 6-cylinder. The manual gearbox here is really cool what they did. I don't find it a big problem here with the gear ratios. I think I was quite fine with that. Maybe it will be different on the racetrack or something, but so far actually quite happy with that. It's totally okay. Then if you would have a problem with that, you can go with a dual clutch transmission. The only thing that will be a big factor at the end of the day, to me the Boxster is more like, also the Cayman, more like a Boxster T, like a purist sports car. And here in this version then, a normal one you can get like 50k something, 50,000 euros, dollars. Boxster T, or then the GTS, more like 60, 65. Then the 4.0 here is already at about 80. And now, like with all the extras, okay, we have the ceramic brakes and stuff and so on. This car, as we are driving right here now, is almost 120,000 euros. I'm like, what? Why? So I can get like 2 base Boxsters for that. So instead of one again. So I don't understand that. That's really overpriced. So, and just for this more sonorous sound and the naturally aspirated engine feeling, which is really cool. But at the end of the day, paying so much more money for that, I don't know. Then again, if you think about the 4-cylinder GTS model, this here is just a couple of thousand euros more expensive than the normal 4-cylinder GTS model. So it's a little bit more about the equipment than about the engine choice. So to me, the most clever and the most clever choice overall is still going for a base Boxster, because this is really a car you can buy in the base version, or maybe then as the T or something. Yeah, if you go for the GTS here in the Boxster or in the Cayman, then I think you can really think about if you directly take the 6-cylinder, the bigger engine then, and have this more, a little bit more elaborated feeling, so to say, for the car. I wouldn't do it if it would be way heavier, but it's actually not heavier, so this 30 kilograms more, you do not feel that, Maybe you leave out a meal in the evening or so, and then you don't feel something of that anymore, and that's actually fine. So very interesting impressions here from the Boxster so far. Let's head out to the racetrack. It's the Cayman. And now we're switching over to the 718 Cayman GTS 4.0. By the way, on the long run, they will replace the 4-cylinder GTS model with this 6-cylinder GTS model. So the 4-cylinder GTS will be no more. There will only be the 6-cylinder GTS. So they really have like a from model to model, from base or T to S to GTS. They will even then hop in displacement from model to model. Well, Cayman or Boxster, the question is then, of course, will you want to open the roof? I mean, design-wise, the Cayman looks, of course, a little bit more sportish, and the roofline works a little bit better, definitely, because it is flatter and you have a little bit more space in the trunk, yes. but then you cannot open it. Interestingly, usually the convertible is heavier, but in this case here, both Cayman and the Boxster are 1,405 kilograms with the GTS 4.0 version. Again, as the 6-cylinder not really way heavier than the 4-cylinder, about 30 kilograms, but actually 20 kilograms is more from wheels and suspension, and just 10 kilograms actually just from the engine. Really interesting. In the rear, you can see the lamps are the same. Here, of course, this wing line is a little bit different than, yeah, I think just visually from the exterior, the Cayman is more beautiful, no doubt. But then again, driving with open top, nothing can beat the Boxster right there. And this one here is today reserved for the racetrack, so let's take it out. Welcome guys to the racetrack with the 718 Cayman GTS 4.0, and yes, this is a true race car, so it's also pretty loud in here. So 230, almost 240 kilometers an hour right here. Hard on the brakes, sequence to editorial, the banners are also here. Back to second gear, dual clutching or double clutching from the car itself. Keeping in the second gear, high off the rev limiter. Back second gear. 7,800 RPM is the rev limiter. And you can mainly drive this car second and third gear indeed. That's also why the gear ratios the way they are. Wow, what a neutral handling this car has. Squeaking tires of course a little bit. And straight and out. Hard on the clutch as well, a little bit off the gas. 200 kilometers an hour once again, 125 miles. 911 instructor car in front of us. And way out again. Indeed, in a lot of the corners I can go back to second gear. And of course then the car gets a little bit lighter, especially when you shift down, weight of the car changes a little bit. Look at the steering and the corners, the angle perfectly aligns in the corner and the steering wheel. Now this chicane is really special, can get a little bit slippery. I'm in the Sports Plus mode. Stability control is being drawn back. Another chicane right there. And now this is a very long right corner, 120 kilometers an hour in the corner. To the next start, a stop straight on the rev limiter and high up. Well, that was again 230. Yeah, this is a real race car, no doubt. And yeah, it's a lot of fun driving with the manual gearbox, of course. When you do it for very first time here with this car on the racetrack, it's somewhat tricky when you don't have too much practice with it. Most of the times we are with automatic gearbox on the racetrack nowadays. Most cars, have that nowadays, unless it's like a real race car. But I mean, it's just more challenging, It's a more purist driving experience. Oh, the wing of the 911 now folded out. Wow. Yeah, this double clutch experience, when the car does it itself, that's always pretty cool to hear. And you can see when I keep it in a higher gear in the corner, of course I cannot accelerate out that well, but inside the corner the car stays a little bit calmer, so it's definitely a trade-off to do that. But here a lot of different chicanes are following, then I go back to the second gear and I can really rev it up very high. And I mean, second gear and I'm still like 120 kilometers an hour in the second gear or something. And that's also the reason, because I also thought about some track time with this vehicle. Again, the Alcantara steering wheel is doing a phenomenal job because it's quite warm outside now and of course the hands are getting a little bit sweaty. So it's really important to have this Alcantara steering. In the chicane here a little bit sideways. You also heard that. Really good grip on the tarmac. That's also why there's so much, you know, noise then coming. Wow. So what do you guys think, right? Enjoy some more comments with me. Getting close to the 911. Jonas, how are you doing?
Great.
Yeah, Jonas loves that. I always wonder, how can he sustain that with his stomach? It's unbelievable. I couldn't do that. I mean, I'm holding onto the steering wheel. I know when you know, where I'm turning exactly. I hold the G-forces on the steering wheel as well a little bit, but wow. How can you do that as a co-driver? That's really astonishing. And the laps with Mark Webber are still to come, so Jonas will also join Mark Webber in the car. I probably would get sick then as a co-driver, but definitely also fun experience. So yeah, this is such a track car, and again, so better handling also than most of the other cars I've driven so far. Last time with the BMW 5 Series, that's the M5 for example. Wow, really impressive. And now let's see how Mark performs on the track. Yeah, probably he'll beat me. Let's watch, and probably we can all learn something.
Hi, it's Mark Webber here. We're in the 718 Cayman Porsche at Estoril in Portugal. And the guys want me to do a few laps with the car on the limit, so we'll have a quick look at it. They want me to explain gear ratios and balance of the car, and also a couple of cute things about the track. So here we are. Probably turn 3, I'd imagine. Holding second gear up the hill. Inside hairpin here. Late apex. Look for a good exit. Third. Fourth, a little bit before the kink. You can do it after, it doesn't really matter. Then we have a big stop down the bottom here. Nice to get the braking right, of course. Nice and smooth, the clutch coming out. Really nice turn in. Hold the apex a little bit longer, then let the car drift. Third gear combined exit. A little bit tricky there for the gear ratio, but down here braking. Second, again off camber. A little bit later apex, running a bit wider here. In between gears here, third gear into the chicane. Back to second, a little bit busy in here. This was super, super tight also in a Formula 1 car. So I tested here with the Benetton many years ago. Hold second gear here, little limiter. Nice to carry second through here, it's easier. And then short shift third. Hold third for the last corner, super, super long, come out wide a little bit. Then look for the exit. Around 170k on the exit there. Into fourth, on the front straight. Pretty relaxing down here. Goes downhill, around about 250 k's end of straight before we start braking. Second gear, through the tight turn 1. Bit of curb on the exit there. Turn 2 is quite tricky, make sure you get in nice and early. And then downhill, back to where we started the lap. So it's a very, very well balanced car. Easy to drive on the limit. Extremely versatile. You've also got the auto blip function in Sport or Sport Plus, so that's helping on the downshift if you want to, but my old habits, I still like to try and help it a little bit myself. Old school style. Engine likes the RPM up there. Of course, being normally aspirated. Back into this busy busy section again. Traction control does a pretty good job on the bumps there. Even in a Formula One car, this corner is very long. There we go. Good.
So which one is the best Porsche and which one would I pick? The Macan is the most sold one because it has compact dimensions and already offers comfort but still great sportiness. If you stay low spec, you can also get seats without animal leather and you can also keep the price low. Then the Macan makes sense. If you spec the Macan very highly, you might as well directly hop to the Cayenne, which is fine with the base engine as well. The Porsche Taycan is a lot of fun and has incredible EV performance and leads in fast charging on the EV market. And I think it drives better and is more fun than the Porsche 911. The Panamera, being so big and long, doesn't offer enough comfort in my opinion. So I would directly go EV and enjoy the modern approach of the Taycan, which also offers a completely animal-free interior. If I would go for a Porsche sports car, however, I would pick the 718 Boxster because the midship engine concept makes it so well drivable and of course drive with open top. The Boxster T goes back to the roots and offers everything you need for a decent price. The 911 to me is a little overhyped. Design and heritage is what the Porsche 911 is all about, but in the internal Porsche competition it is not doing something better than the other models, to be honest. So for me, I would keep Porsche as pure and basic as possible. Base Macan or Boxster T. What about you? Tell me in the comments.